Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of The Gray Area. I am Mr. Bennett, joined by my co-host, as always, Grooming and Reviews 101, a.k.a. The Ghost of Sparta, a.k.a. Peter, a.k.a.
This is Sparta!
Good evening, my brother. Yasu, how you doing?
What's going on, brother? How are you tonight?
Imikala. So
Oh, you work on your Greek. I like that.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
I think by the time you go to Greece, you actually might be speaking better than me.
I hope so. I need to do the crash course on it. We're still researching that a little bit, but definitely it's it definitely looks like a good place to be. Again, it's maybe a little bit cheaper than Hawaii. So again, we're still
A lot cheaper.
yeah. So I'm still tabulating
The
that.
flight
So
says half the time. I think was it 12 hours to go to?
oh
Hawaii?
yeah. Oh yeah, well, 6 hours to get to the West Coast, and then another like six by plane to get there. So we're so again, like you'll spend like a day getting there, then a day recovering, and then you gotta do all that and come back. So we're still contemplating that and putting things together. But again, for everyone who's in tonight, thank you for joining us again on another edition of the show. Certainly, if you look scrolling at the bottom of the screen, you'll see our Cash Apps, and certainly if you find the content worthwhile, we'd appreciate anything you give us in our Cash Apps. But more importantly than that, we ask that you may support the BMU network. So again, the network provides programming for pretty much all 7 days of the week, and so new shows have just been launched, and certainly looking forward to new streams and new audiences, new conversations. A lot of people accuse BMU of just always talking about one thing, but you'll find a variety of different content, hopefully to your liking, within the network itself. So so again, search the shows, check out the content and find what you like, find what appeals to you. And I'm sure you'll find something. But again, in order for that to happen, we need to support the network. So again, as you come in tonight, click the like button. Helps the algorithm, and it helps us to get a little bit more exposure in these places. But tonight, certainly looking for. Actually, I got to be honest with you. When you mentioned the topic initially, I wasn't like, yes, this is the topic we have to talk about. I wasn't feeling it initially, but I did some reading, and in that reading, it kind of opened me up to some things that the more and more it made sense to really delve into this, because really you're talking about humanity to a large extent here, and that always fascinates me. Again, the purpose of the show is to explore different humanity through different cultural lenses and views. And so hopefully, this discussion tonight, don't be dissuaded by, we're talking about toys tonight. Salute to Elevated Mind Healer. Thank you for joining us tonight. Embrace the Grace, the Queen. Thank you for coming in tonight as well. Good to see you tonight as always. Stacy B79, as always. Thank you always for being with us tonight as well. So the ladies are supporting us tonight, so it's cool. So just waiting for the fellas to get on board also. Lady Navoa, again, I is here, absolutely. Now we got to make some distinction, and I want you ladies to work it out, because I said to Embrace that she was queen, but then Lady Navoa, she's typically known as the queen also. So can multiple queens exist in the same place? Or if you guys want to delve out your roads. So someone's going to be the queen, someone's going to be the duchess, someone's going to be the empress, someone's going to be the princess, whoever that is. You guys work it out, and we'll make sure.
Okay, they're firing over me. I'm gonna go back, sit back and watch.
So whoever wants to be the queen, who's the queen? Y'all can sort that out. Let us know how to properly address you.
If they fight over me, I'd be very happy with that. I'm okay with that.
My Grace is a queen. All right, so we can have more queens. So again, more queens can exist in one space. I love it. All right, so again,
you guys don't want to fight over me? Come on now.
No attitudes, man. No attitude. So again, it's good to be with you guys tonight. So we're gonna be talking about toys tonight, and especially this is hopefully a little bit more lighthearted. I know the last couple weeks we got real emo on these shows, so we were talking about parenting. But the cool thing about those shows is we did were able to meet Mrs. Laritzis, Peter's mom, and that was a joy having her on, and just to see how vibrant and feisty she is, and still kicking it, even though she's overcoming some things, whatnot. She's still kicking and screaming, and she's not going to go down undefeated, so without a fight. So she is still hanging in there with us. So it was great to have her on. But we dealt with some real issues in terms of parental care, and then we followed up that show by talking about death, death planning, how how death is looked at in different cultures, and brought up some memories, brought up some things in the discussion that again, we weren't expecting, and that was what my intent. But certainly having David share, and then having grooming share, their personal stories about what happens, especially once a person dies, what the family reactions are and whatnot. Those are certainly the real things that people deal with, and that's oftentimes when you really find out whether or not you have a real family, or is just exposing the dysfunction in the family. A lot of times, unfortunately, a lot of ugly things can come out at funerals and whatnot. So, it's a pretty heady discussion. Certainly encourage you guys to go back and certainly watch that show. We also talked about planning. Is it better to bury or to have cremations? Like I said, the biggest surprise to me was certainly in North America, cremations is on the rise, just given the cost of burial. So again, different burial insurance, different ways of people are going about it. It's not the way it used to be. And people are definitely looking into cost considerations just as much as it is the ceremonial aspect of it. So, so go back and what, you can certainly watch those last two shows. Again, a lot of deep content, a lot of thought-provoking content, a lot of emotional content. But again, I think tonight we're going to go a little lighter, and we're going to talk about this idea of toys. And grooming, I didn't know if you had a direction. Take heed to the message. And again, another queen in the building. Shout out to you. Thank you for joining us this evening. Good to have you on board with us. And we also had, I think, someone else, A-Team 3307. Again, thank you for stopping through here tonight as well. Good to have you here. And so we're going to talk about this. But Peter, I didn't know if you had an agenda in mind, but just in thinking more about the topic and more, I got excited about it. I had some topics, myself that I kind of just I just wrote on a little sticky note here. I just wrote them down that to go to. But if you have some things you want to hit first, certainly I can, start off with you and, where you want to take this conversation.
So toys can be two different varieties. One, it could be a grown-up toy or a kid's toy. Let's talk about a kid's toy for a second. I believe the kids' toys could also define you as the man you become. For example, I was always really fascinated as a young man into the military toys. G.I. Joe specifically. I used to be crazy about those kind of toys. And as a grown up, it was more and more
Mm-hmm.
to the point like I wanted to join the military for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
I know a toy-ish cartoon show is not the same as the real thing. I get that part.
Mm-hmm.
But that started my fascination learning about, F-14s, learning about Tomcats, learning about all this different military stuff, MREs, and so on, and face paint, camouflage, snipers, this, that. The toys I had as a young man can and will probably mold you with the person you can be, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does, for sure. But I want to go back a little more tribal, if I could, a
Go
little
for it.
more to the beginning. What are toys for? Because you can look at any and every culture, I'm sure, has going all the way back to ancient days and whatnot. There seems to be a commonality, a gray area, if you will, for the need for toys. So I just want to talk about that a little bit. What is the purpose for toys fundamentally? Because I think they do connect to our shared humanity. So I want to talk about that a little bit. So what do you think about that? What is the purpose for toys?
To have a kid to play with something. That's what I would think.
Okay. But again, what do you get out of that play? Is I guess is kind of what I'm getting for.
Emotional
Emotional what?
happiness,
Okay.
emotional gratification. Back in the day, they used to give kids a lot of like swords, pretending to be knights. I'm talking about medieval times, obviously. Parents used to carve the toys themselves and make the toys. So toys that are back then was completely different than what it is now. So that is a trick question in a way, I want to say, because
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I like A-Team 3307. He has a good point here. It says to enhance growth and motor skills.
Okay,
And I'm saying, that I think that's a good. Unlocking creativity.
Hmm.
I think is a major reason why we have toys. It stimulates our imagination. It puts in us ideas on how to do things. Now, again, I don't know about your background. I know we both kind of had it. We didn't have the most. I probably had less than you because I didn't necessarily grow up in a time, especially at the time when I was a kid. I lived in the South. We didn't have much of anything. I mean, getting a toy, if you got a toy at Christmas, that was like your year. So it wasn't like we had a bunch of toys. We didn't have a bin with a bunch of toys in and what. In fact, a lot of the things that we had, we actually fashioned on our own. We actually had to be creative enough to make anything essentially a toy. So one of the most fundamental things, for example, that we did as kids is, since we didn't have toys, what is the most fundamental thing we can do and make a toy out of? And we had these. So again, a single sheet of paper, again with imagination. Again, I grew up in the early 70s, so this is the jet age, this is the SST age or whatnot. So again, airplanes of different types. So here's one. All right, this is pretty standard. All right, this is more like the Concorde, if you will, of airplanes. But then you got creative. You made other types of models, and we even got good enough to make models that did certain tricks. So again, if you made the plane in a certain way, how you made the wing, if you fold the one wing over another, you would be able to do tricks. You would make the plane either do loops, or it would go in circles and spin and spiral down to the ground. So a lot of times, again, we didn't have the money. Quite frankly, we were poor. Right? I just put it, or po. We used to say po. We were so poor we couldn't afford the O and the R, so we were po. And so a lot of things we would use, we would take a hubcap, an old hubcap from a car, and we would use it either as a frisbee, or what we really used to do was we used to be able to roll it. So if you worked on your wrist action, you can actually roll the rim cap down, and it would roll. And the game was seeing how far you can let it roll. And sometimes it would go like 100 yards if you hit it right, if you hit with the right speed and momentum, you would be able to get a lot of velocity out of the wheel. So we were always looking for things to play. I mean, you talked about sword fighting and whatnot. We used straight up sticks. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just take a tree branch, strip it down, and we make swords out of those. Or if we had a broomstick, we would make swords out of those. Or if some of us were dumb enough, especially this is what happens when Star Wars came out. We used to take those long light bulbs, the fluorescent tubes, and we would clash those together, and that didn't necessarily go very well. Okay, but we made anything and everything something to play with. And nevertheless, though, we got a lot of enjoyment out of that. Yeah, it was great when we got sort of the thing that was in the box, it was in the store. You got excited when you got taken, back then, if you went to the mall, or if you went to, back then in the South, they had like a lot of Sears and, those kind of stores, the 5 and dime stores. And you were excited to go there, and you hope that, mom or whoever was with you maybe had a little bit of money. If they had $1, they could have got you something. It didn't have to be significant, but it wasn't so much even what it was what you did with it. We would make houses out of boxes, like big giant boxes. We would,
The funny thing about that, Paul, is back in Greece, that's what my best friend used to do. We had some toys. My mom brought a lot of toys from the States, but not as much as you think. It's like I didn't have like cases and cases like most kids have, like a whole room. They have a toy room just for the toys, because how much they have is ridiculous.
Right.
My best toy, and you're gonna probably agree with this, is what was my imagination.
Yeah, no question about it.
And we used to pretend, to be Batman. We used to have one. He used to be Batman. I used to be a Power Ranger, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to fight each other. And we used to cut up our sheets up. And my grandma used to chase us down the fucking street, or his mother, or climb on the roof. That was my favorite part of the day. Like during the summer, it wasn't part of this one part of the summer. I was not with George.
Mm-hmm.
We were living about 2 blocks away every summer. in the morning, we did our thing, whatever he did, I did. We used to watch cartoons, and we meet up and talk. First thing, we always talk what happened on the cartoon show in that morning,
Right.
because on summertimes, all the adult shows are kind of on recess. They're all cartoons, most is reruns, but we didn't care. We didn't catch it because we were always in church, so we caught up. So then after we talked about it for an hour, we started figuring out what we're gonna play today. Then we started figuring out. We made a ghetto. I mean, ghetto is an understatement.
Right.
A rocket ship out of a goddamn cardboard. That didn't like a rocket ship. I look back now. It looked like a goddamn disaster, and that something blew up.
Right.
But we created anything and anything out of our minds.
Right.
And
it's
to this day, I tell that is the best weapon you can use. If you're going to be something one day, you need a good imagination. Definitely some type of engineer. Let's say a gaming engineer. You need a good imagination because you don't know how to find a product until you actually see it.
Right. And I think that's the difference. Certainly between again our more simpler past, where I think we had to use our imaginations a lot more. I don't know if kids are using as much, or we allow them to be as creative because we just give them things. But a lot of times we don't give them a chance to sort of figure things out. And like I said, for us, we had to be very resourceful in terms of the things that we were able to fashion. You talked about, again, Batman and Robin or whatever. We would take the same paper. And we would make cut holes in, and we would wrap it around our heads. So again, that was our masks. And the nice thing, if you had some crayons or whatever. So again, same thing with the airplanes, with the masks. We would color them with crayons. And, so we would fashion things out of nothing, really. And still used our imaginations to a great extent. I don't know if kids are I'm not saying they're not being stimulated at all, but I think it's just a different stimulation where it's not necessarily coming from the person, that is coming from someone feeding you something. And then you just sort of go with that, and then you become immersed in that. But certainly, I think, the imagination and the time that we gave kids to be outside. I think a lot of your imagination was from being outside. And being in the backwoods and wherever you were or whatever, and also the kids in the neighborhood, because a lot of times you would get ideas from the other kids in the neighborhood. So if someone came up with something like, hey, here's a cool airplane design or whatever, hey, let me try to make my own, or let me take and spin on it. So again, the kids oftentimes inspired other kids in terms of what they used to do. Here's another simplistic toy. Now again, for those in the chat, if you guys know what this is for, you let me know, right? But this was also a toy, all right, that we would use in homeroom, in the classroom, or whatnot. If you were bored and you had nothing else to do, this was also certainly a game in and of itself. So if anybody knows what this is, you could certainly hit us up in the chat if you can remember. But again, it's just one single sheet of paper, and you just make a triangle out of it.
Oh my God, I remember that like no tomorrow.
Exactly.
That little fucker got me in so much trouble in school. So I want to know who goddamn invented that, because I got punched in the goddamn fucking mouth.
Absolutely. Shout out to Hank in the building. Appreciate you for being here. Alexis from Texas. Thank you for also joining as well. But yeah, all right. So ingenuity taking from the most simplistic of things, we would fashion toys for the purpose of, again, intellectual stimulation, emotional stimulation, creativity, art. Because again, it's one thing again to certainly to make the toy, but then again put some artistry on it. Again, what colors would you want to brand it? Again, we were really heavy into jet airplanes and whatnot, so we put names on an F-104 Starfighter or some other SR-71 Blackbird, whatever it was. We would put the names of the ships on it, and we would put USA and put the U.S. flag on it and things of that nature. So again, all those things we would do. But I think it serves, again, a fundamental need in human beings. And I still think it's relevant today when you give kids the opportunity to imagine and give them just base things. Let them make lemonade out of lemons, and let them create some things artistically and whatnot, and see where it goes. Rather than just having them in a bunch of activities just to keep them busy. Again, give kids a space in order to develop their way. But I think everybody does that. I think every culture does that, and or at least they used to do that. I don't know if we're giving kids the same opportunities as we did before. Shout out to N.A. Nia. Thank you for being with us tonight. Mariana, Constantine, thank you for being with us as well. Good to have you guys on tonight. So again, the subject tonight, we're talking about toys. All right. And again, the fundamental need. What is the purpose of them? And I think this goes across all cultures. But the next question I wanted to ask specifically was, are there, like I said, these are some of the things, again, just being in the U.S., these are things we did. I don't know if in Greece, and if David, if you're in the back, if you might want to come up for a minute to share your perspective, is there anything in terms of toys that's unique to Greeks or Greek children that might be unique to compared to other toys in the world, or if in Nigeria, if there are toys that kids will fashion, especially in the villages and whatnot, where again you may not have access to a lot of modern conveniences, but certainly you fashion things that you could spend hours playing games that you didn't kept you entertained certainly for a while. And so, or in the chat, any original toys things you fashioned that you would just play with for hours and hours at a time. I'd be very interested to know, certainly grooming from a Greek perspective, are there any toys that you remember growing up as a kid that were unique that you didn't see in America when you came, because you came to America
Actually,
at a
funny.
young age? Yeah.
You just took the words out of my mouth. So when the biggest popular toy, I know this wasn't a toy came out of Greece, but it was the most popular toy in Greece for boys.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to bring up my own man, the Action Man. Action Man was so popular in Greece, you could not keep it on shelves. That's how popular it was.
Right.
It wasn't like a small action figure. That goddamn thing was this big. It was like a goddamn Barbie girl for men.
Right.
You had like equipment like a snowblower, a snowmobile, or a Jeep. Action Man was the key word. It was like the action hero. Like I mentioned on when we did cartoons, that show.
Right.
He was the toy to get.
Yeah.
Then slowly, United States was transitioned to Ninja Turtles, Batman, all that stuff. But that you could find here.
Right.
Action Man never really picked up here.
Right. Did you guys have back in the day? Now, again, going even before Action Man and all that, again, we didn't have a lot of money. Right. So, again, the imagination will come in. We had, and how many guys remember those Army men? They're about like this big. Yeah, the U.S. Army men. They were about this big. And you would get a bag of them. It'd be like 100 Army men, green Army men in the bag. But that wasn't where the action stopped. You then took those guys outside. And if you had like a rocky area or a hill or something like that, you would create mounds. You would create military formations. You would create bunkers and high ground positions and whatnot. And you would work out this strategic strategy in terms of how you're going to capture the enemy and whatnot. So again, all these things just from having those little 1.5 inch tall green army guys. And this is before. So again, by the time you got to the 70s, yes, you had the Action Man that you talk about. You had the G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip. You had all those action toys with the movable joints and everything that was, really started to take off and be popular. But I'm talking about even going before that, before we even had access to that sort of thing.
So what I remember having passing down from family to family kind of thing was metal, like it was like this small metal soldiers.
Yeah,
and we used to like play with them and create battle scenes.
Exactly. Yeah,
versus America kind of thing.
Right.
But it was the American. I always had to be the American guy because we had the best army. I was even that's actually true. But my buddies always used being they're the Greeks, so that we always never argue about that. And, like we always fighting something, and like there were little metal ones. That's how I remember them, little metal ones. I don't know if you remember them differently than I do.
Yeah, well, the metal ones, actually, I would see those in more, and again, this is another area we can get into later in the show, but I remember when role-playing games became popular. So like when Dungeons and Dragons came out, or Champions and whatnot. So again, you would have these little figures, you would have the board. So again, the board was like this foldable, or this board you would roll up. You would then lay it out, and you would put your figures on the boards. And again, you would stage campaigns and whatnot. Again, still using your imagination. In fact, that might have been where a lot of that early imagination I was talking about, that might have been where it went. into role playing games where I think people use more imagination. Now, and again, but that seems to be more almost like sort of like a niche group. I mean, champions and all that kind of stuff. You either into it or you're not. I noticed that a few people were certainly into the Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. Some parents were like, "Oh, don't get into it because it's demonic or whatever." So there was just a lot of parents were kind of yay or nay on it or whatever. But that seemed to be in sort of like the geek nerd area when you talk about the champions and role playing stuff. But it was still an opportunity for people to, certainly use their imagination and fashion storylines and campaigns and whatnot. So again, we have Brother David up. So I want to ask you. So again, for the time you spent in Nigeria, so now I'm not talking about it here in the U.S. So just remember from the time you were in Nigeria as a young person, did you see kids, especially kids who might have came from like rural areas or areas where they didn't have much? What kind of toys did they fashion that allowed them to? Why are you laughing?
When I was listening to the whole conversation, my head was going crazy. I was like, wait a minute. Let me Google it first. Let me check. Then I had to go through all my memory. I was like, a lot of people in the rural area or the city area left there from a rich family. They didn't have toy. They created their own thing.
Right,
Like,
right,
but they,
right,
in community, kid one of the most common one. Anyone who know that Nigeria is into soccer, right?
right.
So we make our own little soccer table, but this how it goes about it. We click in the bottle cap.
You said a soccer table?
Yeah, you get a big table,
Mm-hmm.
long, rectangular, right?
Mm-hmm.
You draw the line for the soccer field. We get a little
I
metal
know where he's
plate.
going with this already.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're thinking it. So you had to make a goalpost, right? Make a net.
Yeah.
Now we had to collect at least 10 bottle cap. Some people
Right,
have their own sort of bottle cap, and the way you do it, you had to bang it a certain way to have a certain structure on it, right? Then
right.
we take a cassette tape, we take it apart, and we take the circle apart. We put it in that part to be like the ball. So everybody take a turn playing soccer. So based on the formation, if we have a huge table, it would be like up to 8 bottle
Mm.
cap, and
Right,
one will be the goalkeeper, right?
right,
Sometimes we go a little further and we get like 3 or 4 bottle cap. We flatten out and make a goalkeeper ourselves.
right, right,
So
right.
I remember doing this, and I got so good at it. It's crazy. Talk about you get 2 bottle cap, you bend it, make sure you hold it. You get 2 other one, you make it flat. The 2 flat when you hold it together, you have one at the bottom, one at the top. You close it in.
Mm-hmm.
You do something else on the other end. I forgot what I did. You make it stand by itself.
Mm-hmm.
So we did so many. Okay, we make a stand behind it. You take another bottle cap, you flatten it, make a stand behind it.
Right.
If you want to make it wider, which is cheating, you got to get more bottle cap to do that. So don't have to make goalkeepers. So this how we were playing soccer using our fingers, just flicking it here and there, but it's turn
Exactly.
by turn.
Yeah.
That was one.
Yeah.
Another one we were making is just like the one YouTube was showing how to make your own wooden gun. You get a rubber band, get a nail, but you get like a long wood,
Right.
get some nail, get some long stretching rubber band,
Yep.
bend the nail on top of the rubber band. You pull it back, you get a clothesline pick, you tie it to the other end,
Exactly.
get
Yep. I
the
know where you
cover
go.
of a pan, you
Mm-hmm.
put needle through it,
Mm-hmm.
right? You
Yeah.
stretch it out, use the clove pick to hold on to it, and they used to shoot at the lizard on the wall.
Oh, okay.
So when you mentioned that, I was like, yo, the stuff these people doing, not only in Africa, I heard it's similar to South America, it's similar the same way.
Right.
That
Right.
they get a level of ingenuity, they just make their own stuff out of
Well,
anything.
yeah. Well, it's a lot of it also has to do with again some more practical purposes also. So you talk about hunting. So again, Grumman talked about guns and sword play back in the day. Now again,
Before we
back
move
in the
on,
day, if you get go ahead.
I have this one. It came in my head. I had to look it up.
Okay.
I have pictures actually for this one now.
Right.
So I'm gonna show them in 1 second. So we used to soccer is a big thing in sports in Greece. We talked about the sport. All right. So it's a thing you get like this big. They're springing ding, and your little metal ball. Those metal balls are dangerous
Mm.
because
Oh,
when you're
I
playing
remember
soccer,
those.
ding, 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 it goes flying, and you're. I'm like, and your grandma started chasing you down the hill because you just broke her favorite glass or broke a window because that metal ball is the toy she bought you.
So what, you would
I'm
pluck it with your finger? You would do like the plucking
actually
thing?
going to share my screen right now. Actually, give
Okay.
me 1 second.
The only toy that lets of it touch
right.
it can send to you.
Hang on.
So,
Shout
let me
out to
see.
some folks who just joined the chat. Shout out to, again, Noshus2, who's in the building. Marcus, thank you again for joining us tonight. Good to see you as always. Thank you for the shout out in the chat.
All right.
What you got here?
So this is I know this is a newer version, but this is pretty much actually the same way what I grew up with. It's a soccer game. Now, if you look closely, see this little ball I'm pointing at right now?
Right, right.
That's a marble. Imagine these springs hit that ball, goes flying off the game, and hit somebody in the head.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what my luck was with that.
Yeah, yeah.
So
well, you mentioned Well, you mentioned marbles. Again, that's another, a very simple game. Again, how many kids today play marbles? You know, it was it was very inexpensive to buy, and certainly there was a lot of skill involved in it. But you don't see folks doing that. But again, it's one of the most simplistic, but one of the most early type of games that there is for kids to play. And now again, you also had no shows too. He talked about the Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, he said the day he left for college, their sister-in-law to college, she threw out my Dungeons and Dragons game because she thought it was evil. Yeah, and the parents, they weren't. Yeah.
They would have.
When she got out of the shower, I doused her with a huge can of hot chocolate mixture. Wow.
Oh man, you're evil, buddy. You're evil. Beyond
So
evil.
yeah,
I thought I was fucked up.
Yeah, D&D messed up a lot of people. Parents were not, especially if you were from like a conservative household or area, or whatever. Like, what's this Dungeons and Dragons and stuff?
Hold on.
I don't want my kids to get that out of the house or whatever. Yeah, they were not playing.
I'm not even done yet.
Before you move from that topic, not only Dungeons and Dragons gets thrown out, Yu-Gi-Oh cards are not getting thrown out under that same category.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
Even
for sure.
Pokemon
Pokemon too. Yep.
Topic too much. So that game, it was two versions of that game: a kid's version and a teenager version. The teenager version was expensive as shit. It was literally the size of a dining room for like 8 people, and you literally you had a real rug. You had a little. It's like think of checkers for soccer.
Yeah.
And you slide it slowly. You throw a dice and slide and so on. That was everybody's favorite game to get. Yeah. Let's say a lot of people went broke.
To know what I was saying earlier about using the bottle cap on a big table.
That's what it reminded me. I forgot about it completely. You mentioned like, oh, you fucking bastard.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the kids in my country, they were collecting unique bottle cap to make their own players. And they were making their own. When I'm telling you, people had a box for their own team.
Yeah.
These kids were gambling. To be honest,
yeah,
were actually gambling. Yet it was a playtime back in the day for young kids, but it was actually putting money down. Play win. Same thing with ping pong. Now the regular soccer table, you'd have the rollers, right?
Yeah.
For the ball, not everybody have it, but I'll be honest with you, these young kids became professional with it.
Yeah.
It's like, you think grown folk was gambling? No, it was young kids in Africa that were actually gambling.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
The soccer table, in the ping table, and the ping pong. It was no joke.
Yeah. No, for sure. No, they got very proficient at it. Yeah. So again, I'm bringing us all this up to say again, have we lost something in recent years? Where we're not giving. Yeah.
Do you gentlemen? I know David's a little too old to remember this, but does he remember darts?
Sure.
Those were dangerous. Okay, I'll tell you why. So we had it between a window. So you missed it. A poor old lady walked by.
Wait a minute, you put the dartboard in the window?
That's where my grandma wanted.
Why not on the wall?
That opened up. She
I
didn't want me
get that.
to pull hole in the wall. I was not allowed.
Oh, she didn't want a hole in the wall, so she said, "Oh yeah, put it in a window."
Yeah, so we had bars through the window. So it went through the bar, through the window, and hit this poor lady right in the ass. I hear my pussy in my life.
Oh my gosh.
I went, run. My brother goes, what the fuck happened? He goes, the lady is literally bent over the sidewalk with a dart in your ass.
Oh
so looked at me like, Seriously? At old people. I'm like, you hit our neighbor. You could hit
Wow.
the bitch across the street I didn't like. She goes to me.
Right.
If
But
you
even then,
overlook
yeah,
it,
yeah,
if you overlooked that, I would tell you we were making our own dot-like weapons.
yeah.
We need the long timber, get the rubber band, the old school pen with a little pointing thing that's on it. We get those, take it off the pen, and we put the regular needle through it,
hmm
and we hold with a clove pick. And when you shoot the lizard, we shoot the snakes that we see on the wall when we're outside when we're bored. And
hmm
we get who the better marksman.
Yeah,
So imagine making our own dot from
yeah.
doing that.
But see, but that's also helping you be, again, like I said, marksmanship. Okay, again, if you got to go hunt, if you got to do whatever, those are almost like you're building skills that you can use out there in the field. You know, or guys, I remember guys used to sling. Now, I don't mean the typical Y-shaped slingshot. I'm talking about the sling that you whipped around. If you ever watch some YouTube videos of guys using slings, real swing, take a stone. Guys are whipping that thing like at 90 miles an hour, hitting the bullseye at 90 miles an hour. I mean, we talk about David and Goliath or whatnot. You know, after watching those videos, I can see, and now I can understand how David slayed Goliath, because you get hit right here with a pebble stone traveling 80 miles an hour, and if it hits the right spot, you are done. So but but again, the slingshots we used to make, it would always be like a Y shape, like a stick. Like you get a twig or whatever that had the ends, and then you put the rubber band on, and you pull back and pull on it. That was our idea of a slingshot. But the sling, where you actually just took that thing and you whipped it around and then you let it go. I mean, that's like, that is deadly. In terms of
There's a technique to that. There's a technique to that because
Oh,
I
yeah.
seen one person in Nigeria, and the way these guys would do, we were trying to see who is better. So we talk about long distance, good distance. And this one boy, he never missed a target. He know
Mhm.
exactly how to do it.
Mhm.
Somehow, he think I didn't make it up. There's a way you can shoot the slingshot, you can make the thing almost curve. I was like,
Yeah. Oh no. It's just like pitching in baseball. It's like it's your arm angle or whatnot. The little English you get on it. Yeah, you can make that thing into a serious weapon, and it's a string. It's not even that complicated. It's a little string with a little catch on it, but you just develop. And this guy, he was just constantly hits, and the sound that it made when it hit the target, it was like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, if I mean, I can see somebody in the hood now. It's like, you don't have to have a
Jesus
gun.
Christ.
If you use that now, you remember.
If I get a Amber Alert or some shit like that on my phone, says person got killed with a slingshot, I'm coming after you.
Well, I'm saying, but it's easy. Look, you can take it with you, because they be patting people down at the games, all that kind of stuff. You can see that stuff like that. You can take it with you. It's like it's not going to be metal detector or anything like that. So you can. That's a practical weapon that you can take with you, especially if you get good at it. But I see those videos, and it's just amazing to me how these guys can
there's
do
a
it.
YouTuber who's showing people the tour how to make their own weapon out of bamboo stick and wood and all that other stuff.
Mhm.
And the velocity of those shots there is no joke. I was like, when I saw it, I was like, I'm glad I did not see that when I was in Nigeria, because I would have got addicted to it. Because
Mhm.
when you're out there and you have that ingenuity, you want to start making your own weapon,
Mhm.
all type of snipe. People were making crossbows,
Yeah.
making all type of weaponry. Whatever that comes to your mind, you got to see how to make it work. Then again, most of us were science kids. We took physics. Once you understand taking physics class, you go back home, try this one out, you see how this one work. We were even making booby traps. So this
Yeah.
how crazy how Nigerian teenagers and kids, when they're bored, they take whatever they learn from school, put it into work.
No, I believe it. Now I want to switch gears a little bit, because it was actually mentioned earlier. I didn't have it here, but I want to bring it up. The difference in toys between boys and girls is certainly something that I think bears some attention, because I think the idea of dolls. Now, again, I don't know, going back to like ancient or older generations, it was typically frowned upon, I think, for guys, and until you got to the action figure. In fact, we had to come up with a new name for it. You couldn't say doll, all right? So boys didn't play with Ken dolls, all right? Even that was still a woman's domain. So we had to come up with a new name. We had to say action figure, right? Otherwise, the doll would have been like, no, my son is not going to play with any dolls. No, we're not doing that. But I think certainly the idea of a doll is certainly something, again, going all the way back. However, you would take, some sticks or some twigs or something and fashion a doll, put a little cloth or fabric on it, make some clothing out of it or whatnot. You had Alexis from Texas. She talked about making mud pies back in the day, and like literally taking to her, I think taking her to her mom to for dinner or something like that. But again, the idea like having toys that were fashioned more towards domestic things. So again, playing with dolls gave you a sense of, again, taking care of babies. The cooking, remember the girls, they had the cooking sets back in the day, the electric baking set. You would get the Betty Crocker baking set or whatever. You would actually mix up the stuff or whatever. You put it in that little oven there, the little electric oven, and in 20 minutes you had the stuff. So again, a lot of the toys back then were very I don't know the right word to use, but very gender specific. And a lot of the toys for girls were certainly much more towards, again, more what we consider feminine ideals, feminine models. Okay, so again, taking care of home, a cook set, a washing machine, a toy washing machine, a toy kitchen or oven or something to that effect. You always had that with girls. I don't know if and I still think it's popular. I mean, Barbie, obviously the Barbie movie came out and killed it at the box. Regardless of what you feel about the movie, we're not going into a cultural critique of the movie. But Barbie's been out since the 50s, and again, even before Barbie, there was other dolls and out there, teddy bears and all kinds of things that were associated with. Now, again, a boy could have like a teddy bear or something like that, but only up to a certain age. If you were under 5 years old, yeah, because again, you wanted that to sleep with or whatever, okay, fine. A 5-year-old can have a teddy bear. By the time your kid is 8, and if he's still sleeping with a teddy bear, at least back then, again, maybe now it's a little bit different. People have accepted a little bit more now with kids, but again, very specific in terms of certain toys that boys were allowed to play with, and with girls. Girls never had cap guns, for example. So again, you talk about toys. If you actually had a toy that was bought back in my day, getting a 6-shooter cap gun set or a rifle or a pop gun or something like that, that wasn't something that typically girls got. No, there were no Annie Oakleys back then as far as girls looking to play with these kind of toys back then. But so now I think the game might have changed a little bit. But Peter, you can go ahead if you had a comment on that.
Yeah, I want to talk about those teddy bears. My mother got me this big ass fucking banana. Yes, banana. Wait. So I had a little
I'm scared of this.
Like a little sleepy thing. I had this big ass tip. I was like, well, this shrinks you. That's how big the fucking thing was. So we hanged it in a corner in the corner in the wall. I used to shake it. Oh, it scared the fuck out of me. I don't know why I got that bad. I was scared of a yellow stuff banana as a kid.
So you were turning towards you. I'm sorry, a yellow banana. You got scared.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So that banana was just freaky as fuck. It was.
Yeah. But yeah.
Gentlemen.
I hear you. But David, what do you think about that? As far as, again, going back to your days in Nigeria, were there, again, more gender specific? So if the kids were fashioning soccer games, the boys were fashioning these games, what did the girls play with? Was it dolls? Did they fashion their own dolls, or what were they? What were they doing to entertain themselves?
It's by chance. Some of them make their own dolls. Now you're not gonna believe this, but you think I'm crazy. You know how
your price already.
the hair salon have the type of hair the hair doll with the hair they learn how to braid. I
Yeah.
used to watch a lot of young kids who have that and learn how to braid hair. Doing that, I practice a lot more. In like, I'm not making this one up. I see that a lot, and I was like, because there's not many people who are able to import doll from the US or from the UK or from China over there. But if you have the money, you can do that. But sometimes people make their own, right? You see some of the girls make their own doll. They'll sew the cloth, fill it up with some so cotton, whatever, to make their own. That was known in Nigeria.
Hmm. Yeah.
But as for the guys, like I said earlier, we most of the toy is made by the kid themselves. The airplane one was more dramatic. We could try and see who airplane will fly the longest from one building to the another building.
Yeah.
Now, mine left my out of one building, mine entered another person building from a distance, and you can tell people were doing that a lot. You go outside afternoon on weekends, you see a lot of airplanes on the floor.
Yeah.
Well, people with the kids will go to the top floor
Yeah.
and throw their own to
Right.
see how far that thing will go.
Well, it's not only how far, but again, the effects, the ground effect, the air effects that you can make. If you just did a little tear, like you took the wing, if you tore on this side. So again, we didn't even know about engineering. We didn't know about how planes flew. It was like, or flaps or the air flow over whatever. We were just playing with these designs. We just knew if, depending on the angle of the wing, the little tear here, it would create these effects. So we were always playing around with just different effects that you could make the planes do tricks, as we used to call them. Just like with the yo-yo, you would do yo-yo tricks or whatever. Again, we would do airplane tricks, and it was always something that we.
Airplane making. I was seeing kids making all type of different airplanes to see we would go further. We would do the loop. We would
Exactly.
angle, and I was like, "Whoa!" Because,
Yeah.
like I said, British standard of education opened the eye to a lot of ingenuity.
Hmm.
That was the big difference. So those kids over there were more challenged to try things they never done before.
Right. Right.
Now, if we want to go next level, you have kids making all type of electrical dam, um, electrical generators. If you live near the river, something like that, people do that. What's going on in Africa?
Yeah.
People were trying to incorporate what they learn in their classroom and see if it
Right.
actually works.
Right.
And I found about it more because, like I said, when you have those type of practical education that make you want to try things, that's what we were doing over there more than over here. The way I say the level of education is more stronger over there than here because whatever you learn in elementary school or in high school, people were trying that more often than ever than kids over here. What we learn in high school is just come out one ear, come out the other. So we were making our own stuff out of nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But I think just going back to the women's issue, and I just put in the chat. I'm just curious, ladies. Again, we talked about the easy bake oven. I think Adam 33 he talked about that, the easy bake oven and whatnot. Again, I know we got Barbie and whatnot, but again, what dolls did you have? Did you have a line back then? Now, before Black Barbie came out, there was there might have been different dolls for black girls or whatnot. So just curious, what kind of dolls, what kind of did you play with as a kid, or were you more on the boy side? Did you like playing with the army men and the action figures and stuff like that? Were you more of a tomboy when it came to that? And we always had them. We always had the tomboy who wanted to do everything that we were doing. Before it wasn't even a thing. We just tomboy wasn't even Cabbage Patch, absolutely. Cabbage Patch Kids. That I didn't understand it initially, but that was like that exploded. I mean, them are some of the ugliest things I ever saw. But people it was this thing. It was people were getting like crimes, right? I mean, no crimes like stealing Cabbage Patches. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that was like a big thing because back then
huge.
Well, back then they also had the birth certificate, right? Like you would get a Cabbage Patch, like it was hatched from this location. They gave you like this. They gave you like this special tag on that was unique to each Cabbage Patch doll. So you felt it was like literally it was like a collectible. Like you owned something beyond just a doll or whatever. So they really made it. Yep, Hot Wheels. Oh, forget it. Absolutely. I mean, Hot Wheels. Some guys went crazy. Some guys had like casings with, and we'll talk about the collectibles a little bit later because that's certainly something I want to get into in a little bit. But yeah, absolutely, Matchbox cars or Hot Wheels, and that was a battle too. You had guys who were in the Matchbox camp. You had someone in the Hot Wheels camp, and everybody was going over whose toy was better.
And it says my grandfather went out in the middle of the night to find one for me. Thought I was jealous that my sister got one. I was 2. Yeah, I mean, those things just exploded. I still didn't. It said board games,
Oh, Brat
Bratz dolls, jumping rope, and love my books. All right, so you
The
nice.
Brat Dog was the second generation of Bobby. That was annoying.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, definitely. Now jumping rope. Now that's more of a like a sport. Now again, that's again taking the simplest things. Now again, David. Now as far as the jumping rope, yep, you had a newborn and a regular. They call them a preemie, right? They called the early ones a preemie or something like that. But now jumping rope a thing in Nigeria? I'm talking about either with a single rope or the double dutch. Now I think the
No,
double dutch I think is an American. I could be wrong,
no, double
but I
Dutch
know.
is American.
Yeah,
Jump rope was known in Nigeria, but if more so you have kids who like to showcase their skills in jump rope.
yeah,
And I don't know what it is. I think jump rope is universal, but when I saw it in Nigeria, people who do jump rope, they can jump so low and do it so fast, like it was
right.
not.
But
And
now,
then
did it? You think it originated there? Or you think that's more of like an American, like especially double dutch? You think
oh,
that's
I thought
were
it
they
was
doing that? There's a lot of stuff that originated in Africa. I know that, but I wasn't sure. What the origin point
I
was
be
that they get it from
confused
us.
because I thought it was originated here, right?
Mm,
When I saw it there, you know how people get their jump rope or they get long wires
yeah,
and they would do it with it. They
right,
get long heavy rope and the thing about it, we did like bet who would do the longest.
right.
And the thing about it, I had to ask myself this question because jump rope with a regular thing here, but also people who do boxing, they say it's good for foot
Oh,
coordination.
100%. Well, I would think even most martial arts. I mean, grooming. Did you do
So
jump rope
boxing was
for
No, I
in
conditioning?
Nigeria as
no.
You
well.
never did jump rope for martial arts? Interesting.
Nope. And in Greece, they don't even have jump rope. It's not even a thing.
But
Really?
but
Even
Yeah,
just a
that's
single rope with just a one person, just
a lot
a
of
girl
boxing
doing it. That's not a thing.
nope.
That is surprise. I would think that'd be one of the
in
most
Nigeria.
simple toys or simple activities a person can do is jumping rope. And you're saying
We
in
had
Greece it doesn't
the
exist.
most popular game for kids growing up is best way I can explain it is a Greek modification version of dodgeball. It's
Mhm.
similar but different in the same way, if that makes sense.
Right, right.
So that's what we had. Jump rope was never a thing in Greece.
That is so surprising. I thought
Yeah.
again. I thought that would have been one of the things that sort of goes across cultures because it did get to a point, especially with double dutch. Double dutch, I think for a time it did go international, and I think it was greatly helped by if you Dave, you might be old enough to remember Malcolm McLaren. He came out with that song back in the day about double dutch. You know what I mean? Talk about the Angels, all these teams and whatnot. Let's go down the double dutch. It's line dancing. So I mean, but it got to a point where we thought double dutch was going to be almost like an Olympic sport after a while because it was so the skill set on some of these people. In fact, ESPN used to have competitions of people doing different things with a single 2 people with a single rope or the double dutch teams or whatever. And I thought that would have took off, but for some reason it just petered off and it just never went anywhere. So that's I think that's unfortunate because I think that
The
was certainly
one
something
I
that was.
do remember, I don't know if you guys remember it. You guys are pretty old too. It's called Jump It.
What is that now? Jump it.
So that was actually it was American thing. Before I went to Greece, you
That's
put around your ankle. What's
oh,
up,
that's
Paul?
the pro ankle that you be rotating with one feet and you
Ye-
jump
Oh,
over.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did
That's a
that.
The
skill
jump.
set too. Yeah, I could. So
But
that was in Greece. That's the
No, I
the
remember the here. I remember
was
the here.
skip
Before.
it.
okay.
You know what they
I
call
was
it?
saying
They call it skip it, not jump it.
skip it. I thought it was Jump It. I found it on Amazon. It's
No,
called Jump
it
It.
was
Yeah,
skip it. I
yeah,
remember.
yeah,
Probably
yeah,
the
for
new
sure.
version for Jump It. Probably some shit like that.
Absolutely. So again,
Right.
so for all these reasons, so you're talking about back then, maybe 40 years ago, kids using their imagination, also using their athleticism. You want to talk about kids staying in shape? I mean, with these action games and things that that because I can never do. I kind of got halfway decent at jumping rope. not doing, the twisty things and the, skipping and all that kind of stuff. But the shrinky dinks, I remember that. I can't remember how the game was played, but that word is familiar to me. Shrinky dinks. I gotta look. I gotta look that up. But only the Afros can do it in style. Northerners can compete in the Olympics. That's not. All right, we disavow the views and opinions of some of our chat members do not reflect the views of the Gray Area show.
He was in second place, mind you. He said it himself.
Oh yeah, but he was doing it Ali style too. So yeah, so he could definitely work that rope. But just the simplicity of taking something simple and again making something creative out of it. Whereas like now it's like folks have everything. And it just seems like it was I don't know if our kids are necessarily advancing. So it's like we're giving kids more things, but are they developing in the ways that they need to be developing?
I was actually about to ask you this question. It kind of goes with what you're saying now. Now, okay, obviously both of you guys have kids. I know your kids are older. David's kids are a little younger, and I know your grandfather and great grandfather, David. And a great grandfather.
Oh, hey, don't push it. Father and grandfather, don't push it. I ain't Moses like all pain.
Listen, okay, you're not Moses. You're more like Adam and Eve, I would say. But anyway, hang on. Serious question. Now, the kid. Do you see the kid actually playing with toys anymore, or going outside? I know I see kids outside in my neighborhood all the time, but. Do you
not in the again, I think it's just I think that's just a side effect of a developed culture. Mm-hmm. I mean, when a culture gets so advanced, so much technology, so many things where you just lose the incentive to innovate, to be creative. It almost like now people are more interested in more social engineering. Whereas, I almost think, and there's certain schools I thought, like if you look at like schools, like Montessori schools, like a lot of those schools, they don't even do a lot of like hard curriculum stuff. They just want these sessions where people you just play, just work at, just figure it out. And now video games is a factor also. And I think it's certainly been
that.
I'll use definitely a factor.
Example. I know my buddy CQ, his kid, I see him always outside playing, but I know he's more, let's get the kid outside and play and burn his energy because that kid is hyper as hell. And he's in his age, okay? Nothing bad about that. That's a normal 6-7-year-old being very hyper. You have to burn the energy out. Except, some other people I hear put on medication, and I think that's ludicrous.
Right.
But my point I'm trying to get to is, like, do you even see kids actually moving forward as a parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and great-great-great-grandparents being, active still, or you think we're going to be a bigger problem with obesity because the kids are going to be?
I think it's going to be a bigger problem later. Now, there's one thing. Trey Taylor's in chat, and I know he's a former police officer. I want to see if he just his general opinion based on what he knows. Does he believe that kidnapping of children is greater today than it was, I guess, in the time when he was an officer and in times past? Does he have any statistics on that? Because I think one thing that's also affecting our kids, the reason why parents are keeping kids indoors, I think it's a perception that more kids or your kid is more likely to be kidnapped. When we were growing up, it was like, look, you came home at sundown or whatever. You would take your bikes, you would ride all over town, go across town, another town, come back or whatever. There was no curfew. There was no, well, you had curfew, but I'm just saying you just came back. But the parents would, you could be out of your parents' sight. I think a lot of people, I think the perception today, and especially when they started putting those kids on milk cartons and things of that nature, or remember those things they used to do at David at 5 o'clock? It is 5 o'clock. It said, remember the TV ad that come on. So in your cartoon, 5 o'clock. It is 5 p.m. Do you know where your son is? You know where your kids are?
Channel 9 were doing that. Those 3 channels, you do that a lot. It's 5 p.m. Do you know where your kids are?
Yeah.
11 p.m.
I think, yeah. So I think it's even in the parents that you don't want your kid outside, out of your view, or out of some supervised session or whatever, because you're afraid that someone's going to come and kidnap your kid. So I don't know if that's reality, if the threat of child kidnapping is greater today. Says it's higher today, 2023. There will be 300 before June. But I'm talking about historically. So I'm talking about is there any correlation from the 70s, from the 80s,
I
from
give him the
those
link.
times
Click on
Well,
it.
I can speak for
where it's
myself.
going up more than it was before?
When I was a kid, my grandma didn't even tell me to be home by sundown. Get home whenever you get home. Like I used to go home at midnight sometimes, and because we're 2 blocks away, if she really wanted me, she would scream like, "Oh yeah, dad!" Like, oh,
Yeah.
time to go home. Or she used to call my friend's kid, and that's the only two ways she could get hold of me because I didn't have a cell phone. I was too young for it, and
Right.
cell phones
Right.
wasn't a thing back in the early '90s.
Right.
But
Okay. So
I
Trey is saying historically it is higher today. No, but again, I don't know if is it so high that should parents be any more or less concerned than back in the day? Especially now you got these devices. You can track your kids, right? I mean, everyone's got the phone tracker and whatnot. You can know exactly where your kids are. But I think there is something in parents where you just don't want, if you go you're going over to someone's house, you're there or whatnot. You want to be so involved with where your kid is. I don't know if this is like if it's still like 99% or higher where this isn't happening. Are we limiting our kids in a certain way where they can't have this? So it's lower today. So
You know
it's
what?
yeah.
Should I give him the link to speak on it properly? Because after we are speaking, I better.
yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
go ahead.
send me
Yeah,
the link. Actually, let me get him up here.
yeah, we can have a quick, and this is just a side pivot. Again, there's definitely a few more things I want to get to on the subject of toys, but this idea of kids not being able to be outside, to explore, to create and imagine. So I just want to see if we can get a little more clarity on that. That our kids are
curious
need
too,
more or less
because
danger than before.
I would say more then and now because you have the AirPods. You can literally put one in, as a
Yeah,
necklace.
you can. Yeah, it's so easy to track your kids now. So it's so Trey. So again, we're sending you the link only for Trey Taylor to come up. If you can give us just a couple minutes on this from your experience in terms of should parents be more fearful today than in times past when it came to that. So we'll just okay. So Trey, you're in the
Yo,
stream. Yo,
Hey, what's
man,
up, Trey?
good to see you,
How are
bro.
you,
How
man?
you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. Good to see you. So yeah. So this idea that again we're talking about the changes in today where more kids are inside, they're not outside, they're not playing, they're not exploring, and I'm just wondering how much of this is reality versus perception in terms of your kid at risk of being kidnapped than say back in our day, back in the 80s, the 90s, or the 70s. So I go back to that time. Just from based on what you've seen, should parents be more or less fearful, especially with the devices that we have to track our children today, to let them out of our sight for a couple hours?
Yeah, they should be less fearful. I mean, I have a 5-year-old. We put an air tag in her book bag. You
Mm-hmm.
should you should be less fearful. They didn't have the technology we had in the
Correct.
'70s. So when their child stepped outside, I mean, it was what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I grew up in the '90s. I was born in the '80s, but I was sort of teenager in my '90s.
Right.
I rode the train by myself. I rode the bus by myself.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's just
Right.
kind of how we were raised. I think a lot of this, Mr. Bennett, just has to do with evolution, just with the technology.
Yeah.
It just kind of forced kids inside, and the lower kidnapping numbers were just a byproduct of kids just not going outside anymore.
Okay. Right.
You know
So
what I
it's
mean?
not a yeah.
The larger majority just weren't outside. They
Mhm.
were, especially the boys. The boys were definitely more inside because, take me for instance. Me and my homeboys, we would go outside for a little while, and then we'd go inside, order food, and play video games all night. You know what I mean? Like we weren't outside. So I think
Right.
it's the lower kidnapping numbers, not so much because parents are like, "Oh, you need to come inside." I think parents would prefer you be outside. I think they want you out the house. But I think a lot of it just has to do with the fact that, you have to remember AOL chat was coming around at the time. Like there was
Yeah.
more of a reason to be inside as a kid. You were on the phone talking to the girls and all that. Like it was more of a reason rather than being outside with the actual girls. You were on the
Right.
phone with them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because
Right.
you had your own phone line or whatever the case may be. I think the lower kidnapping numbers are just a byproduct of technological advances and evolution.
Right. And speaking to that, I think you might have just mentioned it. is that in of itself an issue? Because again, you talk about the chat rooms, you talk about the guys out online, the stalking online, especially with social media and whatnot. Our kids now, the threat is no longer outside, but now is the threat inside, because again, where these kids are hanging out in these social media spots, are they more at risk of being victims of child predators than today versus back then. So it's almost like pick your poison. You want your kids outside, or you want them inside, and there's inherent dangers with each scenario.
Yeah, I don't think there's any coincidence that the spike in the child related sexual crimes has increased with the technological advances, right? Because it's easier to get to the kids now, right? And the kids are doing this behind their parents' back now, right? So I just watched a video of some Democrat something, you know what I mean, that was trying to meet up with a young kid, and he got caught. You know what I mean? Like that is on the rise, because it's the kids are more accessible online now versus actually being outside.
Right.
Yeah, they did an experiment. I can't remember what channel it was. It was called Catching the Predator, and they literally had somebody being bogus saying, "I'm a 16-year-old, yada yada," and you surprised how many men 45 and over showing up. It blows your mind. Like, what are you doing, dude? Why don't you try your life? And B, this could be your own fucking kid. Seriously?
Right. Yeah. Well, Trey, again, thanks for jumping aboard. Did you have anything else to say before?
No. I just came up because you guys.
Okay, so all right, so let me ask you before you leave, since we're talking about toys. So again, your favorite childhood toy. Okay, so not a video game. We'll get to that later. Favorite childhood toy that you grew up with.
That's tough.
So before 8 years. So we're talking about before 8 years. Say around before 8 or younger.
I was a huge WWF fan. So probably, I remember the best gift I ever got. My mom got me the ring set and the action figures. I had Macho Man Randy Savage. I had the Undertaker. I had Hulk Hogan.
Right.
Here's a question for you, Trey. Your favorite wrestler then?
Of all time?
All time? Yeah, the GOAT.
Yes, all time.
The Undertaker.
How the hell are we getting along lately?
Undertaker by far is my favorite.
Hey, this is the gray area. Again, we find common ground.
It's Bret Hart. I was a huge Bret Hart fan. I used to put my sister in the sharpshooter. That's a true story. A true story. I used to put her in the sharpshooter.
Hey, Jimmy, that's funny.
Oh my gosh. So
I also wanted to say I was a big Cars fan, so I had a ton of Hot Wheels.
So you were Hot Wheels, though, not a Matchbox guy. Right.
No. And I had the little cities. You could drive the car.
Okay. Yep. I remember those too. Yeah.
Cities and stuff like that too. So it was between wrestling. I can think of a few others. I had a lot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as well. I was big on that. Right. But the number one toy that I had to take everywhere I went was my wrestling action figures, for sure.
Right. Awesome. Well, again, thank you for sharing, and again, appreciate your insight, and again, we appreciate you, and you do the same, brother. Take care. Yeah. So yeah, it's certainly we've definitely transitioned into where again kids are more indoors, less outside playing. But I think as Trey was saying, I think parents will want their kids outside a bit more. And I think there's certainly benefits to that. But I want to move to another area now. That there's an article. In fact, let me bring up the article. I'll post it in the chat. It was a very interesting read that I wanted to talk about, this idea of what does it mean to be an adult. Right. So that's changed in recent years, and it certainly has had an impact on the toy industry. Because the article that I'm gonna let me just get the link for. It talks about this idea of, and it's a new category with their label now. They're called kidults, and these are people who are over 12 years of age, and a lot of them are literally over 21 years of age. But these are one of the main buyer groups that's keeping the toy market alive for themselves. So these aren't necessarily parents of kids who are buying their kids toys. These are actually adults, or again, older people who are buying for their own enjoyment. Now, there's some reasons for that. One of the reasons that the article talks about In fact, I'll just read a couple quotes from it, and I'll be sure to post the meme in the chat. One of the things that it says is that two things that are keeping the toy industry afloat for now: inflation and the consumer group called kidults. This is an article from CNBC. So it is these kids are responsible for 25% of all sales annually, around $9 billion worth, and are the biggest driver of growth through the industry, according to the NPD groups. So again, this is a CNBC article. Davis has it up there now. And one of the other things that talks about this idea of an adult, it says the definition of adulthood has definitely evolved, said Jeremy Padawer, chief brand officer of the toy company Jazzwares. What used to mean an adult was to be a very upstanding, serious member of society, and to do that, it had to be intellectually, emotionally, and in every other way. Now we feel a lot more free to express our fandom as a part of our adulthood. So the idea of adulting, again, kids play with toys or into that, but you have a lot more adults. I mean, you're talking about CEOs, you're talking about people in high places, highly educated engineers, doctors, or whatever, who are still attached to toys, in part because it helps keep them young. Like, in other words, they're pleasant reminders of their childhood. And what this does is this also has changed toy makers in terms of how they go about it. It used to be, when we were growing up, the toy manufacturers, they always tried to come out, well, what is the coolest new toy we can create? So they got a room full of engineers and creative people and say, hey, what's the new kind of toy? What can we put out there in the market that's going to make people want to buy this toy? Now people are starting to more cater to what the individuals like. So if you're a Star Wars fan, then again, Lego and all these, you got adults. And I've been in, homes of my boss had a whole bunch of Lego Star Wars sets all set up, like life-size statues of Lego stormtroopers and things like that in their house. And the thing about these, go ahead, dude.
Talk about, let's say, Transformer Generation 1.
Yes.
We'll talk about more. You want to talk about Voltron. That's a collectible items. You talk about Lego. Lego have a long series of collectibles that they have.
Right.
But the one coming back more, Transformer is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Have Voltron, the iconic one, the Lion version.
Mm-hmm.
It's a collectible.
Right.
The one on the Transformer is the Dinobot, where they now did it with the combiner.
Yeah.
I was following that for like almost a year and a half of all the iconic toys from the 80s and the 90s that
Right.
now coming back around and becoming high cost. And I know that there's a market for that. Another collectible are the old school game from the Atari 2600 era, the
Yep.
Nintendo
Shout out
era.
Atari. Yep.
I had to follow this to see which one was more costly, because back then the baseball card, if you have an old baseball card back in the early 80s that had been signed, there was
Right.
the cash value behind that.
Right.
So I had to follow about which one you can hold on to that have more value
Yeah.
over a long period of time.
Right.
So you also forget a major catch here too. Now Marvel is on an uprise. Right now, the last movies are suck. Whatever. Forget the movies. Let's focus on the marketing. Captain America, one of the best of the first round of the movies was one of the best. Iron Man 2. Just Iron Man. Let's think about Iron Man. How many helmets these guys sold?
Hey, keep it right there, Dave. Keep it right
2004.
there on the Star Wars link. Just I want to read that too. Go ahead. Go ahead.
2004. Well, when Spider-Man came out, the web slinger, it was just a silly string. That's what it was. But they just put it on the wrist, hit a little button, and next thing you know, you sold billions of it. You want to talk about Star Wars? I'll be happy to talk about Star Wars because I'm also a Star Wars freak. And you know that. For a good example, this lightsaber right here costs $800. I am not even joking. $800.
What?
This is Everything.
No, that's it. Yeah, that's real. Especially if you get it from a custom maker, Saber Forge or whatever. Those things, those guys are on the real. Yeah.
And side note, don't buy it from them. They're shitty. But if you get it from a Vader's Vault, the best one out there right now, and from my opinion, is over $1,000-something. Yeah. It depends where you get it. Like here, I'll give you an example. I have my my Amazon stuff open, and I have some stuff here. Like, okay, a Power Ranger Legend Gold Ranger staff, $144. A original not original, but from the original Mighty Morphin, it's a $44. Iron Man fully metal. I mean metal kit set, $40. Let's go. Ghostbusters sign, $30, but it's not full size like this big. But if you want a full size like they had in the movie, over $800.
Yeah.
A Green Ranger tagger, $99.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm finding another one here. Give me 1 second. Okay, here's a better one. Something is in my expertise. Assassin's Creed, $80, $73, $75, $150. Let me see another. Okay, the original Red Ranger sword, $113. You see the trend right now?
Yeah, now it's definitely, and we also got to talk about this idea of collecting, because again, when we talk about that, okay.
Let me jump in on one thing. Legos is another up one right now. One Lego for Captain American suit, $179. Just a Lego set.
Yeah, it's up there. Yeah, I mean, the general point that's being made that I'm making here is, again, this new kiddo category. So these are a lot of these folks. These are grown people with spendable money. All right. Now, again, is it a wise spend? I don't know. But the idea of being an adult has changed in recent years, where, again, a lot of that stuff you talk about a generation ago, there's like, man, you're a grown man still playing with toys or collecting toys or whatnot. Again, when you collected art. You collected stamps. You collected coins. Things of that nature. But in recent years, people collect comic books. People collect Air Jordan sneakers. People collect. I know Brother Hink, who was in here earlier tonight. If you ever watch Hink's follow Hink's Basement podcast, he's got all those bobblehead dolls in the back. I don't know what you call those. Those pop. Yeah. People are serious into collecting these toys. Like I said, the Legos, especially the Star Wars and the Marvel. Lego stuff, spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Again, if you're in the Star Wars community, as you said, those custom saber makers, and I actually contemplate. I just couldn't at the time. Thank God I think I had 3 kids. That would have been the only thing that stopped me from saying, it's like, nah. It's like, no. My wife is like, no, you're not spending this kind of money on an ornament that you're not even going to use. I mean, how often am I going to play with it or whatever? So it was like,
my buddy CQ is in the comments, but he can vouch more for this than I can. CQ has wall and wall stuff, and he's a big collector. He's a big comic books guy. His shield, he got it like I think $80 at the time when it first came out, but now, Captain American shield is over $800 easily.
Wow.
Right. I'm looking at Not Lost, though. Sorry for your loss. Yeah, that's another thing, too. I've known guys who've had comic book collections, basement flooded out or something, and wiped out the collection. Yeah, I mean, guys.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
You guys met my mom, right? You know how craziness she is. Even back then, she goes, you're going to save the boxes. These are going to be collectible. Like, okay, whatever, mom. I just want to play with my toy. Leave me the fucking alone. I'm a kid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just some toys, she bought 2 of them. One for me, one for put away. I just sold one of them recently. The one she saved. Original box. Make conditionables. They had like dents from movie and stuff like that, but nothing, not like major. It's like they called it like close to perfect condition. I think they graded it. I got $4,000 out of that damn thing.
What? 4,000? Yeah.
Yeah, I paid.
Not serious. Look at the middle. Scroll up just a little bit on the article. Because in 1977, Star Wars launches, and you started seeing a lot more licensed product at retail, where we were celebrating our fandom with toys and collectibles. These included non-toy items such as bed sheets, crockery, and clothing. At the time, the intended recipient was all kids.
explain. But when those children were born in the 70s and 80s, were really the first generation that had this much licensing and product that was available to them, demonstrably attached to, and there was no big surprise then that those kids in their 30s and 40s, they continue to demonstrate that. So yeah, the idea of collectibles. And with money, now you got money to spend. Yeah, people are willing to roll out serious money in hopes of. Now, again, there's no guarantee. Again, you can get that. It's like the market, right? It's like when to buy and when to sell. So again, how long do you want to hold on to that comic book collection or whatever, or those action figures? Which you don't even take out the package. That's the thing too. When Star Wars came out, we actually played with the action figures. But somebody figured out at some time, if you're gonna do that, you buy two. You buy one to play with, and one that stays in the package for one day. This is maybe valuable some way. Someone took a gamble on that kind of thing. So again, these kidults who are still attracted to these things either for nostalgia, because again, it reminds them of their childhood or whatever, or they may find value or market. To maintain these items. Again, you just need to make sure though that you're around to do it, because again, it may be valuable to you, but it may not be valuable to everyone else. So don't be, if for God forbid you pass and your parents who never understood your obsession with this stuff just decide just to throw your stuff away, and you're saying no, that stuff was worth tens of thousands of dollars, you might not want to hold on to that stuff too long. Same with baseball cards and anything else. But the idea of being an adult where you have to listen to only Bach and Beethoven and drink wine and the sophistication that was associated with adulting, that has changed, right? People are in their fandom as well as being about their business or whatever, and they're not ashamed to know both of them. Trey was on earlier talking about WWE. I mean, people buy those custom belts. WWE belts, like the authentic was hundreds of dollars, and not thousands of dollars. If you want an authentic old school WWF belt or something like that, there's a lot of people who spend a lot of big money for that stuff.
The most expensive one now is the big gold, the big Goldberg original WCW that went to WWE, the whole heavyweight. That's going for over $800 if you want real gold, the real strap, the real bolts, the real everything. But I want to mention one thing. So Marvel's launched a new series called the Star Wars Legend series. So this is very interesting to me because the Legend series is more a collectible than a action figure. The reason it's interesting to me is what the price is because of the conversation we're having. So the price starts from $30, even $15, depends on the action, but it depends which grade you want to get. You have very high grades. Some action figures go a couple $100, but a couple of the ships, that's where the money is in the accessories. Is like a Millennium Falcon can go up to between $400 to $800 from the Legend series, or also known as the Black series too. Is another one they're launched. So it depends on what you want to spend. Like, I'm not saying the collectors are stupid or anything like that. I think if you're into it, yeah, let's go for it. Because I personally enjoy collecting stuff like that myself. Yeah. Like I have Star Wars stuff. I have obviously Spartan stuff all over here, swords, all that stuff. I enjoy that stuff. But you have to also be smart. Is it worth the price tag sometimes?
Yeah.
Like, I'll give you an example, my Star Wars, my saber. Was it worth the $800? Yes. But if I did more research, I would probably spend the extra $100 and just buy it from various Volt instead because of the sound effects and everything. So lesson learned, obviously. But it depends what you want to spend your money into. The Lego sets. Are you willing to pay a couple $800 here? I'll give you a good example. Let me find it right now. Give me 1 second. I just had it. Okay, so a Star Wars set this is the low grade ones. I'm talking about low grade for kids mostly. A Lego set for the the Star Destroyer, 150, but it can go up to 800 and over. I've seen it into the thousands. The real the plastic one. Yeah. Now, would you really spend that money for that? Is it worth it? Me personally,
again,
no.
But it's just like any kind of art collection, right? As they say, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So again, but people with that kind of money, they're willing to, they're willing to shell out. Now again, what I like, I can admire it. Like I can go in a like especially if you go to one of the big toy store chains like the one in New York. What's the big David, the big store in New York?
Toys R Us run out of business, buddy.
No, not Toys R Us. There's that big toy store in New York City. What's the
I forgot the
especially
name.
for Christmas every year.
I know you. That store, I'm
Yep.
not sure it's or not. It should be. Is that the big toy store for the rich folks or the another one?
Yeah. But I mean, you go in there and get like almost like a full like 10-foot model Lego of the Death Star or Star Destroyer or whatever, for like
Lego store?
$25,000 or stuff like that. No, it's this,
It's a very unique thing. I forgot the name of that store.
yeah, it's a famous toy store in New York City. I got to look it up.
It's not too far away from the Etalata company, right nearby that area. They always those type of unique store hang around that same area. It's not too far from Central Park. I know what you're talking about. Those stores.
FAO Schwartz. Yeah.
So, well, I mentioned one more thing before we go too far. Gundams. Gundams were a big hit in the 90s. Everybody bought like, at least once. Now they have different grades. Master grade. David is hurting his head because he probably made at least one. He couldn't figure it out. Knowing him.
No. I'm heavy on Gundam, so I track the price of those type of master grade Gundam. The most expensive one almost go for $1,000 now.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the problem. You buy it. I have a friend of mine who was beating me up and said, I don't buy my own. My son, I purchased 2 for my son already.
Mm-hmm.
He go get the full grade, the master meta grade, just that one. But here what's going on. Those type of Gundam kit. It's one thing you put it together. There's a group of guys on YouTube who now want to put it together and they customize it and put their own flair. They call it gunplay. Those things go from a couple of hundred to almost a couple of thousand, depending on the masterwork they put together. And these are no joke because every year there's a competition where the company that produce these things, they do a global competition. They have the regional North America, South America, Asia, Europe. They all compete for #1 title. And the best gunpla get put in display.
Mm-hmm.
If it's that damn good, they put in their anime. But gunpla thing is the international thing that it's making too much money, but it's almost rival the gaming industry. Because I was about to mention earlier before we got to here, there's a huge video game museum in Australia, WWE, like David Wood and Kofi Kingston and AJ Styles went there. They guy collected every single video game that was ever manufactured, either was sold or not yet sold. And he have his whole house turned into a walking museum of all collectible video games. And when they're asking the value of it, he said the total value was almost $500 million.
$500 million?
That's
Almost.
understatement. But before we get into the game, hang on. Let's finish the gunplay really fast. So a gunplay can cost you 25, 30. Now, if you go to perfect grades, and what's about perfect grade? Something else is like so. This one I can't remember what grade it is called. So this grade can give you the middle finger, pretty much. It lights up, it bends the fingers. It's just insane. It takes you a good year to put it together. Not customizing gunplay wise. Like I'll be very cautious if I'm gonna scratch up a perfect grade. Well, what is it called? Do you remember? I'm sorry. I mean, David. Do you remember?
I'm gonna Google right now because
thank you. So these Gundams are now getting from something like this that is cost me $15 to pick up. But even back in the day, there were 15, 20, 30. Go ahead.
It better not share it so you after I'm reading it, you can see what I'm talking about. Because
go ahead.
It's a high grade.
Okay, that's what that is.
The high grade. After that, the high grade, there's the real grade. After the real grade, there's a master grade. After the master grade, there's a perfect grade. After the perfect grade, there's a super deformed grade. And these, the price is very based on a specific model. Some model will go for a couple of hundred, some go for 1,000.
Okay, so Gundam Wing or the Gundam RX 79, the most popular Gundam ever made. I don't care who the fuck you are, you probably know Gundam OG. If you was the perfect the last one down, Paul. David, all the way down. Super Defender. Thank you. So that's gonna be probably in a box like I have behind me. When you say they're like 1,500, 2,000, I want to say
the typical form these models are the smallest and have no scales. They're like often beginner friendly one. The perfect grade, the master grade, and the real grade and the high grade are considered to be. I think the one you're looking for it had to be either master grade or the perfect grade. They're the most expensive ones.
I think it's the perfect grade I'm thinking of. I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it right here. LD lights and all that. Yep, it's the perfect grade. I was right before. So the perfect grade, Paul, you don't understand how expensive suckers. If you go
Yeah.
on Japan Pro something, can't remember the name of it. They only do with Japanese models. All of them are snap on usually. Don't have no paint. Very simple. Even a goddamn dumbass can do it. Put it this way, David did it, so we're good in that part. But then, if you want to take it the next step over, painting it and get the lights and everything, stickers and all that stuff, now you're going into gunplay tutorial. Now it says, yeah, this is cool, but I want to do even more to it. Now you're taking all your hard work and start scratching it. Now you get a grinder and all this stuff. Thinking about it, that is somebody just took a couple weeks, even months to build something. And now if the perfect grade, there are a couple $1,000 in it. You're scratching it up
Right.
to make it look like it was like a Buddha wound or a laser
Yep.
strike or something. You know what I'm saying? So you're hitting dangerous wars there.
Hang on, so I got a question. So who's doing the evaluations on these items? Who makes the determination, especially when it comes to trade or selling or what have you? You may think something is master grade, and someone else may think no, this is perfect grade or whatever. So who is there an exchange that everybody can agree to, or when you're dealing with private people or subjective here? It seems like very subjective.
When you buying this, it says right on the box. Where is it?
This is the high grade, right? Yeah, this is the high grade.
Yeah, this is
my
a high
son.
grade. This is right there in the corner. You see it?
Mhm.
So when you buy it, you know what you're buying, right? You know what grade. That is the company says this is what the grade is. This is how much parts it is, how it's going to move. This is very basic. Now, when you go to a perfect grade, I mean, it's literally the model's like up to here almost.
Mhm.
And that's why it takes you maybe 6 months to build it with customization and everything I'm talking about.
No, the
So-
next level high grade is real grade. It's almost
is it
the
real
same
grade?
scales. Yeah, the next level.
I always
from
get
high
those confused,
grade.
but you know where I was trying to go with this.
I see.
So now to rate this, it really depends on two things. One, how much money you want to spend somebody to go rate it, and B, how much you're willing to spend for it.
Mhm.
That's where it comes down.
Yeah, it just seems like the marketplace for these items, especially now once the item is built. So I mean, obviously you have the item in box unfinished, but there's also a market for the finished product. Is typically the finished product therefore then becomes more valuable than in the box itself, or is it the other way around?
That's okay. That's a hard question to ask because you need a grader for that one. I can't even answer that. But what I can add to the conversation in Japan, where Gundam is pop culture phenomenon, they had several. It had one real one, Gunplay. It was like I think 12 stories tall. I think it is.
Right.
And it actually comes out and moves. It literally walking in the air, and it brings them back. The show I think like 10 to 20 minutes. They just discontinued that show because it cost Japan way too much money. Then they had a couple all over Japan. There's models, just standing up models. There's nothing crazy. They don't open up or anything like that. But they build it piece by piece, same way as we are doing with these toys, as you want to call them, or toy models, whatever you want to call them. Go ahead, David.
I'm a collectible myself, and this thing called Beyblade. These are Japanese versions.
They're still around?
Yeah, they're still around. These are all Japanese versions. I don't buy American versions, so I do collect them. So it's kind of like this another collectible, not as popular as Gundam, but it's up there as well.
Okay.
And the one they made here is more combined with metals and plastic. They actually made it. How would I say it?
David, share my string really fast.
Show it again.
Share my string.
Oh, sure. Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna have a follow up question for you guys when you finish sharing.
See this one I'm
that
talking
one
about?
we're talking about. Oh,
This is the real life one that is 12 stairs long. Literally, you see people crowding around. This moves in real life. No shit. This is another one that is. This doesn't move, but it's a real skill model. Here's another one in Japan. This is a phenomenon in Japan. Excuse me. say two things are good to go for shit show is Gundam and Dragon Ball Z. I'm not even joking. Like, here's another one, and another one, and another one, and I can go on. I don't know how many.
A lot of people around the world travel out to see that in person, and they say the tourist attraction put with a huge amount of money.
Right.
Look how big the fucking head is on this picture.
No, I see. No, it's crazy. It's crazy. So let me ask you guys something. Since you guys are obviously much more into the collectibles, into some of the things that I always say I'm good with a conversation for about 30 minutes with just about anybody. But once you guys start geeking out on stuff, then it'll be like, I gotta look at my watch. Okay, I gotta catch up with somebody else, and then I gotta go somewhere else because I can only go so long. I appreciate it. I appreciate the dialogue. I can see the passion in you guys, but just from a sort of high level, let's getting back to humanity. For the reason we're talking about again, why toys? Okay, what are the purpose of toys? It seems like today the purpose is drastically changed from something being something that. Hang on, let me make my point. From the point of again developmental, creative. To now we're in this collectibles sort of area now, especially for adults. So we're not even talking about kids anymore. These are grown people because again, you need some money, regardless of what grade you buy, whatever. You need some money to be in this stuff. Whether you're getting lightsabers or kits or whatnot, you need some serious money. So from your perspective, I want to get a little bit from you guys. One, what is your driver as to why you put you're willing to put your time, talent, and treasure into this into this endeavor, and just even long term, is this something that you think is overall good for society or societies or adults to really put their time into this measure? Is this so what do you guys think of that? Considering again, a generation ago, none of this stuff was possible. None of this stuff was heard of. But you have people from all different walks of life who are captivated by this and are willing to put a lot of their emotional and financial resources into it. So what do you say about that?
You want me to take his first? You're on mute, boo. Dude, mute.
Want to go first? Or I'll go.
I'll go first. So I feel the action figure / collectible is a couple things. Brings your childhood back. Let's be honest. It's like
two for sure.
Me personally, like when I get a bigger place, I'm gonna have a background with all the collectibles and stuff like that to have my scene pop a little bit. That's one of my reasons. Second reason is these new collectibles are not like these little cheap piece of shit toys that I buy and 10 minutes later the kid broke it. These are made to survive. That's why some are up to 60, 80, even $100 and more. That's on a low side I'm talking about. So it depends. Listen, here's the end of the day. Does it hurt anybody? No. Does it kill anybody? No. Does it cause addiction? Not really. You can stop. It's not like a drug. You can walk away from it any time or sell it, make money off it.
But do you think, I mean, again, given the money, just like a gambler, right, who can't stop gambling, wouldn't there be people who can't stop buying? Like I said, especially if you're spending serious,
alcoholics. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So it can't be somewhat addictive.
It
to
could be. Yeah, I'm not denying. Like buying purchase would be addictive. Buying guns would be addictive.
Absolutely.
Shaving your head could be addictive. And like whatever. Me growing my beer is addiction to me right now. Vaping is addiction. Cigarettes addiction. Anything can be addiction.
Right.
Eating too much to be addiction.
Sure.
So you can't really say that's not a factor because anything in life too much is addiction. You need to know when to hit the brakes. Like I keep myself, if I'm gonna buy something, I give it 1 month in my cart. Okay, I want to add it. Or my thing now, I have so many things saved up over the years. I want to buy stuff. Like I buy one thing a month. I treat myself. It's going into my closet in the back. When I get a bigger place, I have my decoration. I have them ready to go. I don't buy them all at once. I know that's what the goal end for me is.
Right.
But sometimes you know when to buy and trade too. That's the thing about this. Like, okay,
one thing that worked out for you. Yeah.
Yeah, like
For
me
sure.
and David, for example, he's a Gundam player. Didn't know he was into Gundam. Like me and him going back and forth now. Oh, I have Gundam RX-79. He has Gundam Double O. I want he wants 79. Like straight. The value could be mine could value more than he does. So
Right.
it will be no money exchange. We just care about getting that model. You know what I'm saying? Same thing in card games. Like how many different board games are out there? They're very they're very collectible. Like one, Assassin's Creed one. It goes to $150. But it's a cool game. I seen some board games go up to like a couple thousands because they have all these toys moving around. It's like you need a 4 tables. It's insane. Some of these games. It doesn't hurt anybody. I don't see what's a big deal. Personally,
Sure.
it's
Okay.
your hard work money. It's your money. You do what you want with it.
Gotcha.
That's your
Gotcha.
business.
I'll piggyback after what Grumman said. When it comes to
Go ahead.
Gunpla,
The floor is yours.
Gunpla, Beyblade, did a lot of fanfare when it comes to Japanese animation that people would have watched back in the early 80s.
David, I'm sorry, I'll cut you off for 1 second. In New York Comic Con, I go every year. I'm gonna have full live videos this year. I'll show you how big I have a video in my shorts.
That's another. Yeah, that's. I was gonna kind of end with that point as well about the
Go ahead, dude. I'm
conventions
sorry,
and all of
I
that stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm glad you mentioned that, but when we talk about the fanfare about these collectible items, the people might think it's a waste of time, but people who purchase these things like the Gunpla or the Beyblade, they put these things together. It take an ample amount of time. It take a level of artistry to appreciate what you're putting together. Because when it comes to Gunpla, Peter would tell you this: it's not one thing you put together. That's not the end of it. Some go much further. There's an art form into it whereby people are buying all type of kit, whereby
Thank
they
you.
can modify it. There's a unique type of knife set you put together. There's a
Right.
certain type of paint set you put together. People are buying the paint sprayer. People are turning one part of them to like a studio whereby they're taking these things apart, putting a new paint color to it. They're doing all type of customization on it. They adding extra. Did a did a few videos or YouTube link I could have bought onto the thing. Maybe BME will add it later on. But these people take hundreds of hours on one model, either be the master grade or the perfect grade, and they do a lot of customization to the point whereby it looks so realistic. After getting the paint, have to do the flossing or the filing or the perfecting or the stuff that's going. It's like a masterpiece. Now, when they are done, people are actually hitting them up, asking how much they will sell it. The most that was sold was almost like $5,000, and that is crazy. So you think about collectibles. I think the people who are more into collectible things are mostly the males than the female, for what I noticed so far. But there's the upcoming trend of females jumping into the fray as well,
Right.
depending on what is popular to them.
Oh, for sure. Well, again, I mean, Grooming mentioned Comic Con earlier, and again, I mean, would you agree it's like 50-50 now, Grooming at the Comic Cons or whatever in terms of men and women there?
Comic
What the hell
Con
are you
is
drinking
like
in
a
that bottle of
whole.
yours? I want to know what the hell you're drinking. It's more than like 10% of everything. So now
Comic
you have.
Con is like a new society because when
Hang
you
on,
go
dude.
there,
I'm sorry. So now you have movies, video games, trading, game cards, anime, American car anime. You have tattoo shop, people tattooing, selling, buying. You name it, you can find it. If you're a
No, I
geek,
get that. Now, the question was again in terms of men and women at these because again, like Dave was making a point earlier, a lot of the stuff was mostly into men, but women are getting into it. But I'm saying when you go to Comic Con or any of these big conventions, would you say it's about 50-50 now, women and men who are there for all of that, for the merch, for the collecting, for the whatever? Because I'm now girls, they might be into different things. Like I know there's one lady I know, she was into like these certain dolls. I forget the names, but it was some Japanese dolls of some kind that she was into. Not Barbie, but something similar to that. So they might be into maybe some different things, but definitely it's men and women who are getting into this. It's not just men who are into this thing.
Now I'll be correct. I'll be technical here. I would agree to say 50-50, but it's becoming a trend whereby the female are now almost outpacing the guys. And the reason why I'm going to say this, I'm sure Google will understand this. The first earlier Comic Con was looking like 50-50 to a degree because people were fan base or fanboy or fanboy into certain thing. It'd be anime,
Mm-hmm.
it'd be troll, or video, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But as time progresses, as technology changing, we have Twitch, we have all these streaming services. It's now fashioned more toward to the women more than the guys. Reason why? The costume designs, the etc. I'm glad he put that one up.
Thank
Perfect
you. I was going
example.
to type.
A costume design,
Mm-hmm.
the setup they put together, the outfit. It became a point whereby women are making money more from Comic Con or what the phrase they call what
Crossplay.
um
Uh,
cosplay
uh, Cosplay.
cosplay.
Thank you. You know what I was trying to say. So
There's a lot of money being made in cosplay whereby they go there to showcase their art
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
to the point
So
whereby if you're that good, you're almost getting a job through the movie industry because the movie industry also come there as well. Comic Con
absolutely.
have a lot of TV production, movie production coming there to showcase or have discussion about the upcoming project coming out. Now, based on your costume design, if it looks so authentic and so much detail, people actually get jobs through that right now because
Mm-hmm.
it's a whole different market that only, you know what? I don't want to be disrespectful. Only the nerdy people catch on to this.
Yes, you're right about that. But like her, right? Example, she was the number one. She just retired this costume that last Comic Con because it was literally ripping on her. And like she even went to my buddy CQ. Go like I can't fucking move these. If I go left or right, everything's coming apart, and everybody's gonna get a good show tonight. So she was the number one Mortal Kombat cosplay at the time. I might be wrong on the number one, but she was up there. Now
Mm-hmm.
these two girls, they're obviously again, Roger Rabbit. Their line wrapped around literally half the Comic Con. Only reason I was able to get the pictures is again my buddy CQ hooked me up. But here's the thing: they don't charge for pictures. They don't charge for autographs. They don't charge for anything because that's how they promote themselves. More pictures you take, more autographs you give out. Guess what goes? Sponsors come behind that. Sponsors comes with other things, and
Mm-hmm.
next thing you know, your following comes so big. Ching 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 ching. Show me the money. I wish I had that sound effect right
Uh,
now.
so many people end up being
Then
in
we
the
can start sharing my
commercials
account.
either for the latest game or latest model that's coming out or anything that within that arena. They're gonna say it's a money grab right there.
Right.
If you're good at what you do when it comes to putting the costume together whatsoever,
Right.
company are watching and looking to see the details. If you're good at what you done, that's WWE right there. If you're good at what you do,
Jake
and
the
if people
Snake.
they'll call you, they will reach out to you. We're doing a promotion. We want you to do this costume. Can you please come up and do X, Y, and Z? And before you know it, they're making bread. That's another market right there. Comic Con, it's like a whole another generation of people who are into collectibles, who are fan base of their old childhood from the 70s, from the 80s, from the 90s to the 2000s. And the 80s and the 90s, no, correction, 70s, 80s, and 90s was a huge competition between America and the Japanese when it comes to cartoon and toys. And reason why certain toys were either done better in Japan than done in the US based on the company.
Mm-hmm.
Transformer was a huge, big issue. To I mentioned in the chat room, I'll go back up there. Um, I think it was not Clock would mention that. Say something about a certain collectible from a particular Japanese company. I'm trying to find it real quickly.
You look very
All right,
handsome there, Peter.
there
I
it
had
is.
no hair. All right, leave me alone.
That company right there, Takawatami, is a well-known toy manufacturer. They make better version of Transformers over there than the American one that do it over here because the detail and the quality is have a better finish, better polish, and a better look to it. So there's a huge competition. Like there's a thing with people to follow certain anime or certain cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Thundercat, for example. Thundercat, the original one the most recent one they did, not the Thundercat lame one, the one that would look like the original back in the 80s. they were trying to put the toy
The
line
OG one.
behind it. The toy line did not do too well because people were more into the cartoon and Cartoon Network. So they cut the promotion. No, not they cut the production to season 2 because they wouldn't make enough toy out of it because the company was doing the toy, it wasn't getting the traction because American toy maker cannot win against Japanese toy makers. When Japanese put their mark on the toy making business, they steal the show. So there's a huge market on making the best version of
Mhm.
any of the childhood fantasy or how you call it, kid adult favorite stuff to look after. So when I watch it, I start to understand that oh, there's a money grab going on. Whoever make the best toy of any version, they get the most sales. So a lot of TV show or cartoon get cut off because of toy sale. If the toy is not selling much, it's what it is.
Mhm.
How many versions of Transformers we have coming out these days over the past years? We can mention from G1 to the different versions of Transformer that come out, and you had a new one coming out very, very soon, which has always been the case. The toy line are either done better in Japan or here. If Japan is doing it, they get the most money compared to the US. So there's a market for it. And that's one of the things that I look at because if you do if you know what, maybe you got to go to Comic Con together and do a show based on your experience.
That
I
would be
Well, there are
insane.
promise.
still tickets around.
Yeah,
They're
that'd
not
be
expensive,
that,
believe it or not.
that would be
People
insane.
think Comic Con tickets are expensive. They're not expensive.
Well,
They're
there's
$75.
levels to it, right? I mean, there's
No,
VIP levels, and there's
you
no
cannot get
VIP.
VIP if you wanted to. Good luck trying to get a VIP. So my buddy CQ, he gets press passes. He
Okay.
literally, no fun attended, by the way. CQ, I apologize if you're watching this, but he had kissed a lot of ass and we sent a lot of emails last year to get those tickets. Now he's on the line. The VIP, they're a waste of money. They're not anything special. You're not going backstage with the guys or anything like that. The only thing you get is like you might skip a couple lines. That's it.
Mhm.
If you get a 4-pass day, and it's a waste of money to be honest with you, because you might have 1 or 2 different celebrities, a couple of little things here and there, but everything's the same thing every day, in and out.
Right.
So I go on a Friday or Saturday. Those are the best 2 hot days. Sunday,
Sure.
don't even bother. Thursday, don't even bother. Because Thursday, they're setting up. Sunday says, see ya, we're out of here.
Mhm.
But if you're trying to buy a lot of shit, Sunday's the best day because less things they bring back,
Right.
less, you know what I'm saying? So I go Saturdays usually. If I tell you you're going to probably grow hair again, how much you're going to be shitting your pants, I'm not even joking. David can admit that. He's going to be growing hair if he ever comes to the Comic-Con because that's how he won't know where to go. Left, right, up, down. And he goes, and he'll be overloaded. My first New York Comic-Con, my first Comic-Con was Allentown. It was called Allentown's Greatest Comic-Con. This is his name. So no to take it personal. I met the Red Ranger, the OG Red Ranger there.
Yeah.
So cool guy. Can't say bad. It was like literally I walked around in 5 minutes. That's how small it was.
Mhm.
So, but that popped my cherry. Next a month later, I was going to New York. More than 3 months later, New York, and
At the
I was
Travis Center.
over. Yes, I overload censored. It was an understatement. I didn't know where to go. I'm like, I only had $500 on me. I'm like, I don't have enough money on me. If you don't bring at least $3K on you on the low side, that's being generous.
I didn't know that.
Right.
I put it this way. Autographs alone is going to spend you, if you want to pay for them, you don't have to. I collect autographs. You see it all over my room. I collect them. Everywhere you see. I have an autograph everywhere. Here, right behind here. Like I have so many. I like collecting autographs. That's my little twinks. They're not expensive. About depends on who it is. They start from 25 all the way to 45. Now, the main celebrities, you have the special celebrity that's going to be in. Last year was Chris Evans. He was asking 150 just for his autograph and another 150 for a selfie with your phone, by the way. Now, if you want a professional picture, you have the option to go there with a professional guy camera. He prints it right there. It can vary. Hogan 1 year was asking $100 and something for an autograph. No selfies allowed. Another 200 for a professional. You ask what you want. There's no law behind that. So most of these guys are usually you see around my room right now is between $25 and $30 with selfie and autograph. I think that's a fair deal. But when I see over 100, I can't do it. The only two
Now,
autographs I regret not getting is Stan Lee's. The reason I didn't get his, it wasn't expensive. It was only like $10 he was asking for. The line wrapped around in a zigzag, half the arena.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I was gonna lose my whole event. I'm like, I couldn't compromise that. The
Right.
other one, it was a little pricey for me at the time, but I should have dropped the money. It was Skywalker, Luke Skywalker.
Gumi,
Go
I'm gonna
ahead.
need your help here. Besides the Javits Center and the
Mhm.
one in LA, what was the third location that the most played the whole the Comic Con at?
It was a San Diego,
Uh,
wasn't it? San
San
Diego.
Diego is the number one. The biggest one is San Diego. Allentown, I mean LA. I don't know about that. I do know they do have one in Philly every year. It's not called Comic Con, but it's
Yeah, Philly, no,
they,
PhillyCon. Yeah,
PhillyCon,
I haven't gone. I've been at an event where it was going on, so we were in the same hotel. What was going on? It's called PhillyCon. Though.
yeah.
Because the reason I'm asking that question, the Javits Center made a huge killing every year for almost 15 years when they're doing the Comic Con. They did not realize that Comic Con was a huge money grab because the movie, the cartoon, the gaming, the toy industry produce the huge amount of money in that event, whereby the amount of police presence was needed. It was ridiculous. I never knew Javits Center made the most money from those events only.
Well,
Every other
I do
event
have a funny
they make
story behind
money,
that.
but Comic Con alone is like
Yeah, it's like it puts them in the black for the year, basically. Yeah, it's
you might well open all the bank because by the time the money come in, it's an overflow.
yeah,
There's so much money going in that in a center. Okay, a booth depends on the size of the booth. Okay, you saw the picture of the bodybuilder. The bodybuilders go there too. Kai
Mm.
Green. He did not charge for autographs. He didn't charge for pictures. So everything was free because he wouldn't give back because he's from New York, Brooklyn. I want to think I think he's from.
I think
Anyway,
so. Yeah,
yeah. So if he sit down and talk to me for 45 minutes, give me a freaking hug. I'm like, holy shit, this is pretty cool. And I found out how much his table was. It was close to $500,000 for a small table the size of my desk. I'm like, excuse
What?
me? Yeah, those booths are so expensive. It's not even funny. Some of them can go up to a good mill on one New York. It depends on the size you get.
yeah.
But the
But
thing
it's
is,
funny you
the
mentioned
biggest
the cop thing, David. Here's my little funny story. A couple years back, before COVID, I was walking by. So I saw a couple guys, in uniform. I thought they were, cosplay. They were playing some cop. I'm like, hey, cool uniform. I go, this is not a fucking uniform, kid. This is a real thing. I'm like, oh, oops. So, but my point was like, you don't know who the cop because the people try sneak guns in all the time. There are a lot of rules, like a week before, don't bring this, don't bring that, and you see a pile of toys, look like real guns up to here. Like, oh, what the? And you're not gonna get it back. You lost cause. Sorry, buddy.
because what was going on, they didn't realize the amount of people traffic that was generated for these Comic Con. That's why I was saying Comic Con is like where whoever owns Jarvis Center, whatever lot they make throughout the year, they make double that on those particular events right there and there. Because the amount of people who line up to get in there, the amount of people are dressing up, and yet the amount of police presence was needed because they want to make sure it was safe as we had celebrity actors, celebrity directors showing up. And when talk about Star Wars, when Star Wars to pop on, don't talk about the next movie coming out and the director and the cast showing up there. You know how many people line up there, some wear the whole outfit, everything to geek out for Star Wars. That's exactly how it was that huge. I never got a chance to go, even though I was working nearby. I didn't even take it to tell my coworker, oh, I went that trip my kid there. And they showed me a picture. I never knew it would be that packed, but it's a huge money grab.
Not only that, the money they put into the costumes. Thinking about a cosplay, I'm going to end it here. Is you have to make it yourself. You can't go buy it. Doesn't count. You have to sew it, build it, staple it, glue it, sire it, whatever it needs to take. You need to do. And one guy, they were going on. I mean, like he had a big, like it thing, almost like a big floor
Mecca,
factor.
Mecca.
And I feel bad for this guy because people were running towards him. I mean, PDs were running, and medical was running again. They were ripping his costume off. He overheated. It was a rug. He was wearing a rug on top of a rug, and people were running. We're like, I looked over at my buddy CQ. What the hell is going on over there, dude? He goes, I don't know. So he later on we separate, we did connect. I goes, oh, dude, remember that? Yeah. He overheated so bad because that's why he was there for that costume. And people, they paid him coming from I don't know where to show off the costume. So he had to find a way to do it. So they found the AC. He had to stay at one section where the AC, it was moving around, all this stuff. I'm like, oh, now it explains why he had to wear that, because they were paying him a couple $100 an hour to do it, just to sit there and just move around like, ooh, look at me kind of thing. It sounds corny as we're talking about, but if you're there and experience it in person, it's a whole different world. You're going to say geeks run wild are understatement.
And that's why you think all the toy industry is making the money from, because what is popular at Comic-Con?
Not only that, they also sell specific toys. They're only at Comic-Con, and you can buy 3 or 4. You can buy as many as you want. Obviously, it depends on how much they have. And if you go online and flip it, or sell it to the store, that's it. All right, who goes first?
Well, let me close since you guys have again taken this conversation into another dimension here. Again, I thought this was a fancy. I thought this was a very entertaining conversation. Compared to you guys, I'm very basic. I mean, I'm so basic in my fandom. Again, I appreciate a lot of what you guys are talking about. I never consider myself all in to the degrees that you're in, but I just want to show you guys something. This is something, I don't know if you guys ever saw this. I've had one of these or something similar to it for about 45 years. It's one of the first toys that I was able to get. Now, I picked this up maybe 5-6 years ago. Might have been like $5, But the point I started, the first question I asked is, why toys? What can you do with something like this? And it's just simple things that you can just, so it's called a snake puzzle. And you can just take the puzzle and you can kind of just do certain things with a certain twists and whatnot. So it's different shapes. You can always just kind of use your imagination in terms of what you put together.
Like the cubic blocks. That one is more popular.
Yeah, so you can, kind of just flip it around. And every once in a while, I'll just take this out. Either on board, I'll have one in my office, and I'll take one out, and I'll just play with it, and just make little shapes with it. So again, this is like a fundamental shape here. You got a little doggy and whatnot. You can do more 3-dimensional shapes. You can do like, make like globe type of shapes with it, and so I think toys, again, from a human perspective, they're definitely a part of, they help us with our development. They help us with our creativity. They help us to create, and to engineer things. And so I think toys are always going to be very important. I think today, though, things are a little bit different. The fact that you guys go into collectibles, and I know certainly there's a lot of creativity, especially when you talk about cosplay and, a lot of artists and designers. But it's a little bit different now, I think, because I think a lot of that stuff is for, like I said, it's like an adult industry where you have, people with resources. Because again, you're going to need resources to get into that. The common, 8, 9, 10-year-old kid may not have the resources to put into certainly the way you do it, unless they got some very rich parents who are willing to spoil them that way and give them the hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to collect in the way they collect stuff. But here's another shape that you can do with the same object. So I think there's value in toys, and certainly from this discussion, toys are big business, both for the manufacturers of these items, for the cons, for the conventions that people put together. So toys aren't going anywhere in any capacity, and people more and more in terms of the collectibles market, people are investing. They're putting their time, talent, and resources into these collectible markets, which again may not have been a thing, like I said, maybe 30, 40, maybe 40, 50 years ago, certainly not in the 70s.
I think then you started having like you guys just collecting GI Joe action figures and certain things of that nature. And certainly when Star Wars came out, I think Star Wars changed the game. And when it came to collectibles, just in general, I think that opened up a new franchise that I don't think people really realize. I mean, there was licensed stuff that was out, but not the way they did it. And so I think George Lucas, in a lot of ways, certainly changed that game. It plays a large part in terms of what we see now. Whether or not this is for the better, again, I think about our kids, their creativity and whatnot. Are they able to take something simple like this, a $5 toy like this, and just spend a few hours with it and just create and think with their minds in terms of thinking in different ways? I don't know if we're giving our kids necessarily that option anymore. Now, which is like here's a set for you. Here's a and that's already made. Like you used to buy Legos to create. You didn't buy Legos to replicate, right? So again, it's like so really the Legos are kind of like the puzzle, like the puzzle where you got the picture's already there. You just got to put the pieces together to match the picture. But before, you just got a bucket of Legos and just say, here, do something with it. And I think we're missing something with today's generation, where everything is about copying what someone else did. But I think we need to have some time to allow our kids to imagine. And I think toys can certainly be a facilitator of that. But like I said, at this point, it's too big a business that we'll ever go back to those simpler times when we took things that are around our home and we imagined and we played. We took those $1 1-inch size army figures and did all kinds of crazy things with those. I think we're beyond that now. Whether or not is this going to be better for our future, I think that's a discussion. I think that's a cultural a discussion that we can have hopefully in the future. But this is the era of big time gaming, big time collecting, and all those entertainment wings are coming together with the wrestling and with the TV shows, Sons of Anarchy. I know it was on Peter Shirt earlier. So all this is coming together. So entertainment, humanity is certainly moving more in that direction. And I think it is becoming more mainstream. It's not just Geekville anymore. Again, you're getting big time sponsors and advertisers who are also plugged into this as well. Again, is it good for society long term? That might be a question. But again, I had a great time in this discussion tonight. But I hope that for everyone who's watching, again, do some things, puzzle games, things that still stimulate the mind. One of my biggest regrets in life that I never did was, and it's still on my bucket list, but I doubt if I'll get to it. I never saw the Rubik's Cube. I've solved Alexander Stars and other type of other games. I've solved those pretty easily, but for some reason, first of all, I never owned like a legit one. I always like a copy of it or whatever. But I never put the time into solve Rubik's Cubes, or at least solve them in a quick fashion, like to solve them under a minute sort of thing. I never got that good at it. That's one of the regrets. If I could play back the clock and do one of those, I wish I would have. Did that. But yeah. But again, great discussion tonight, and certainly looking forward to more in the future. So whoever wants to take it next.
I'll pick it back from Mr. Bennett. I'm glad you showed that toy. That toy was one of the toys I was looking for many years. Could never find
Yeah,
that
so $5. I got it off of Amazon.
and
Like, it's cheap.
that one and it would be cute. They were the type of toys that the people who are considered nerd were going to that direction because color coordination, figuring out how to get things done without even looking at it. It's not only great motor skill, but it expands the mind to a whole nother level. Now there are certain toys that push the envelope, whereby it make people want to think beyond the regular. Like I said, like the Gunpla or the other collectible items, people have to do modification with it. It does that to people. Now, yes, toys have changed over the many decades that we have seen it. Some toys are good for the better for our kids. Some toys, I believe, it's nothing but a waste of time. And I believe when you get into this business or get into this market concerning toys, it still have an impact, but it depends on what toys that you getting for your kids because those things right there, the Rubik Cube, the Gun Plus, um, There's a few other toys out there that engage. No, Lego. Lego have a unique series that are meant for engineering students that they're doing it to this day. That for Max. They're going strong. I had to give them credit for that because I was telling my kids, Lego is not for regular kids. It's very for kids who are creative, who are constructive. Because there are different level to these Lego kits they have out there. Some you build in a home, build in a house, or you build a masterpiece based on archaeological sculptures out there, or you go into robotic level of it that teach you how to think outside the box. We have toys that engage our kid to the next level. Then we have toys that we consider to be a waste. It all depends on who what they're putting for the kid. The game system, well, can I hate on it right now because it's a multi-billion dollar industry, almost a multi-trillion dollar industry. People make getting paid to play games. Not just any game, but the hardest game. Let's not forget Street Fighter. Back in the day when you play in the arcade, you really compete, put a quarter there and see who can beat the most people. That's a money making business, right? We didn't talk about that yet. It did fall under toys, but it's another level. I think that's what's going on right now because we might have to do a part two on this. I don't know because there's so many aspects, so many category of toys we even think about speaking on what build the next generation. That toy that Mr. Bender was using right there, that toy was more on the nerdy side. People who are nerd, they would do type of puzzle toy. That one be basic level. The cubic toys, I watching so many competition of the people who do it the fastest, and they'll look at the cube,
That's right.
cover it for the time, boom. Some do it blindfold. This is why I say how much brain power is being used on these puzzles and these toys compared to the toys that are not doing anything for these kids. And a lot of these kids who grew up on those things end up being geniuses compared to the latter. So I think this is a very interesting conversation that we're talking about because you see people geeking about the old toy of the yesteryears in the 80s, the 90s, Cabin Patch Kids, the Brat Kids. Um, there was so much debate. We even mentioned baseball card, but that was a collectible thing back then.
Right. That,
We were
yeah,
collecting
that's
baseball cards.
I didn't want to go too much into other collectibles because again, that can get crazy. So I wanted to keep it in the toy area, but yeah, there's
Yeah, and
collectibles in all kinds of
I'm glad
different
you did
areas.
that
Yeah,
because some of us kids we used to go to the baseball game hoping to find our favorite athlete to sign our baseball card, and we get that thing sealed.
yeah,
Once you get one signed and sealed, and you keep it, my baseball card collection, my mom threw it out. She didn't know how much valuable that's in it because
Oh,
yeah, I had a lot of them in the '80s. Now I work a couple of thousand for certain ones, like Dow Strawberry when we're in the Met and the Yankees. So imagine some of the things that a lot of these pandemic did. I can't no, no, yeah, they were close minded. They didn't see the value of certain thing, how it will progress over time.
mm,
People are selling their collectibles to acquire huge wealth because there are people out there who collect these things and put it in mint, especially in toys. So this is a discussion we have to look at how much toys impact our today's society, either in a negative way or in a positive way. If you're in the educational way or the non-educational way, because I'm telling you, some toys are like forever. It doesn't age out, no matter whatever it is. It doesn't age out. So you can imagine how much of an impact it have in our adulthood, because some of us were built based on certain toys that keep us grounded, while others, you know, because it was an interesting topic. But man, we might have to revisit another time and get some people from other cultures and see what they say about what toys impact their life on it, either negative or positive.
yeah.
all right. Before I go my final thought, I have a question for both of you gentlemen. All right. So next week we're supposed to do a Q&A. We have two choices because I just came up with a new topic. we're gonna do a Q&A, or we can go into video games next week. I think we need to touch that base.
I can do Q&A. Again, video is not going to be my strongest suit. I honestly, my last game console that I actually bought.
It's not about the video games you played. Is the difference between Greek or African or Jamaican or whatever video games versus American.
If you want to take a nap, angle.
Yeah, the gray area, like we always talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you want to do Q&A?
You got to point out because on the old game console, there was some game made for the U.S., some game for the UK, some made for Japan, as well for other nations. So there's something a lot of kids did not know about, unless you were a nerd and you look into it, you find out.
Listen.
So there was a dilemma behind that.
That's my point. That's why again, Paul, you're my partner. What do you say?
Well, I know there was some folks who were asking to come on. We wanted Trey Taylor specifically to talk about again the kidnapping issue. I say we can keep it fluid. We can certainly talk about. We can have the open chat next week. But to fill the dead air, if there is any, I think we could certainly bring up the video game topic. So Q&A.
So you want to do 50-50?
Yeah, or like I said, it's going back because people aren't on, but you just keep talking about it. So last time we did a Q&A, everybody had smoke for us. Nobody came after us except for a couple people. So again, hopefully you guys will be back and again
busy on that day, and they didn't have the chance to come on. And
get okay, all right, you can say that.
I am
but
putting a public challenge to everybody's watching. You got something for me? Come and get some.
Yeah, bring the smoke. I mean,
we idea in my head, but it didn't work out that well. But
we should just. In fact, I think we were thinking about just naming the show the Bring the Smoke Show. I mean, so again, we had that available for you guys. So yeah, I think we could certainly do both. But again, it could be 70-30 depending on who shows up. But again, we would certainly like to certainly acknowledge again the chat. A lot of people in the chat tonight. Thank you for your input. Certainly within the chat tonight, and we just love to hear your voices. I mean, you just come up, say hello to us, and keep it moving. But so many of you guys come in every week to support us. We really appreciate it, and so certainly if you'd like to say hello to us, certainly we appreciate that. So next week I think we can do the call-in show with the subtopic for the video games, and we'll see how the conversation goes. But again, for all you guys had smoke for us, now's the time to bring it up. You've been warned.
So my final thoughts. Toys over the years have changed. Let's keep that in mind. But that connects us between one culture versus the other culture of the other culture. Transformers is a good example. I remember watching Transformers in Greece. Beast Wars, for exactly, was the thing I connected with my homies here, with my homies in Greece. Then you have the New York Comic-Con that you're going to meet so many different species of life. If you think you're racist, you're going to lose that at the door because you're going to get kicked out so fast. It's not even funny. If you have never experienced a Comic-Con, please do. It's a mind-blowing experience. You could be overwhelmed with emotions that you would never know you had. So try it. It's not that expensive, trust me. You're going to need some money to buy some things. I'll promise you that part. But if you enjoy yourself with, Comic-Cons, toys, action figures, whatever, do it. End of the day, the only person you have to answer is yourself in the mirror. And I'll leave my thoughts there.
All right.
Finish it up. Well, close it up, buddy.
All right. Well, again, great discussion as always. Again, we certainly look forward to these discussions every Sunday night here on the BMU Network. Again, so tune in on a Monday. Again, you have a full week's worth of content that's coming up on the show. And again, if you support the channel, again, we ask that you certainly consider becoming a member of the channel. Support the content that we're doing 7 days a week here, right here on the BMU Network. So I am Mr. Bennett. He is CBN Tech Talks, a.k.a. Black David, a.k.a. CBN Black David. And he is Grooming and Reviews 101, a.k.a. The Ghost of Sparta, a.k.a. Peter, a.k.a. This is the gray area. Sparta! We'll see you guys next week. Take care. God bless.